Hello everyone. Good morning. Can we all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
All right. Thank you, Mr. God's favor. Welcome to class, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. We are happy
Understood.
to have everyone
Let's check it.
in
Let's check.
today's,
This is from Abel.
we're, we're happy to have everyone in today's session. Right. We'll be commencing our first class for today right about now. Our topic for this morning class is fundraising for startups. Yes. So irrespective of the course that you're offering, right? This particular topic is generally supposed to propel you within the direction of learning how to generate capital for whatever business, irrespective of what it is, right? So fundraising for startups is supposed to propel you to generally learn how to raise funds, and we have a lineup of mentors that will help us, just help us dissect this particular session and give us proper insights on how to raise money in the instance where we need to raise capital for startups and how to go about that. Please, I want to kindly ask that we pay attention in class. Group presenters for today's session, please try as well also to get ready for the session. So not to waste any time, I can see we already have two of our mentors in today's class. I will just go well to introduce them and read their profile. Our first mentor in today's session, for those in the IP class and also in the FinTech class, I'm sure we are no strangers to Mr. Max Ikombe. Mr. Max Ikombe is the founder slash principal of Everlaw Associates. Sorry, he works extensively in the field of arbitration, ICT/technology law, and intellectual property. Max is a facilitator on the annual Information Technology and the Law course of the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies since 2016. He has trained in advanced intellectual property law courses at the World Intellectual Property Organization Academy, and he is an accredited agent of the Nigerian Trademark and Patent Registry and has conducted IP registration business since 2010. Thank you so much, Mr. Max, for joining in. Okay, I don't know, I'm not sure if we have him on call yet, but we look forward to having him into this session. Thank you so much, Mr. Max. Our second mentor for today is a wonderful mentor we had in the last mentorship program. He helped us, also give some very, very important highlights to the program and to this topic in the person of Mr. Oluwolabi Onamade. Sorry, sir, if I didn't pronounce your name very well. Mr. Olabi is a passionate Nigerian dedicated to driving positive change in Nigeria and Africa through youth development, with a diverse background in private, public, and NGO sectors. He is a strategic leader committed to fostering innovation and empowering individuals. Olabi currently works at Faith Foundation, Nigerian foremost business incubator and accelerator. He plays a pivotal role in shaping direction and the organization's strategic direction and fostering its financial sustainability. His strategic insights and expertise in fundraising has been instrumental in securing over $3.5 million in funding for the foundation. He co-designed the transformative Faith Scholar program, which is currently shaping the lives of aspiring entrepreneurs and leaders. All Abi's impacts extend far beyond his professional roles. He was recognized as the 2023 FATE Model, that is FATE Model Employee of the Year, as a well-deserved acknowledgement of his exceptional contribution to the foundation. Prior to joining FATE Foundation, Olabi volunteered with Tech for Nigeria, contributing to educational reform. He also honed his communication skill as a social media consultant at EcoBank Nigeria Regional Contact Center. His formative professional years were marked by valuable experience, including gaining insights into the family business or at Femi Onamade and Company, and serving as a graduate intern at the Lagos State House of Assembly. This experience provided him with a holistic view of the private and public sector, equipping him with a well-rounded perspective on leadership and governance. Owolabi holds a BSc in Political Science from Babcock University. He has garnered certifications from reputable institutions such as Google, Acumen, and Philanthropy University. His commitment to continuous learning underscores his dedication to personal and professional growth. Beyond his professional endeavors, Owolabi is an avid chess player and enjoys spending quality times with his family. In everything he does, Owolabi embodies his core values of integrity, innovation, and compassion. His journey is a testament to the power of commitment, strategic thinking, and the pursuit of excellence in creating meaningful change. As he continues to chart his path, Owolabi remains a beacon of inspiration for those who share his vision of a better Nigeria and a better world. Thank you so much, Mr. Owolabi, for joining us. We are happy to have you in today's session, and we look forward to hearing from you. Our last but not least of our mentors for today is Mrs. Rafiat Debari. Ms. Rafiat was also present in the last mentorship session for fundraising. We're happy to have you again with us. Ms. Rafiat is a dedicated and result-driven program manager with a passion for philanthropy and social impact, currently serving as the fundraising manager and WAF manager at Al Mubarak WAF Foundation. Rafiat brings over a decade of experience in project management across various sectors, including agriculture, food production, and non-profit organizations. Rafiat's commitment to social responsibility is evident in her work and other voluntary activities with various NGOs, where she focuses on women empowerment and implements initiatives to support out-of-school orphans. Her experience at Zakat administration and WAF management showcase her dedication to leveraging Islamic finance principles for community development. A lifelong learner, Rafiat holds an MBA and various professional certifications in fundraising management and humanitarian leadership from the Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana University and Zakat Foundation Institute of America. She is currently pursuing further education in philanthropic studies with the Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana University. Rafiat's unique blend of project management skills, philanthropy experience, and passion for social impact makes her a valuable contributor to discussions on effective non-profit management, sustainable development, and innovative approach to addressing societal challenges. Thank you so much, Ma. We are happy to also have you in today's session. You are very, 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 very much welcome. We'll be kickstarting our session today with discussions from our mentors, and then subsequently we'll have presentations from the mentees. So I would be giving the floor firstly to Ms. Rafiat. Thank you so much, Ma. We are happy to have you in class. We would like to just hear from you in the next, let's say, 25 minutes on your discussion for today. You're welcome, Ma.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning, Ma. We can hear
I'm
you.
trying to put on my video. Is my video on?
Yes, your video is on.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you very much for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be in class today. And I hope I'll be able to round off my presentation in the time given. So, yeah, as you said, my name is Rafiat Dabiri, and I'm currently serving as the fundraising and endowment manager with Al Mubarak Wakaf Foundation, amongst so many other responsibilities with other organizations that I currently work with. So today we'll be talking about fundraising for startups. And I don't know, is there anybody in this class that was in the previous class, or is this like a whole new set?
This is a whole new set.
Okay. So yeah, in this session, we'll be covering not just the technical aspects of fundraising, we'll also talk about some soft skills and important attributes for a business person to have. I would like to clarify that my expertise is in the nonprofit sector, but in this session, we'll try as much as possible to align fundraising for business and also fundraising for a nonprofit endeavor. So there's definitely a point of alignment for these two initiatives or endeavors. So we'll try to toe that path as we go. So we'll explore strategies that um, will help us to navigate the fundraising landscape. Mr. Dennis, who will I be sharing the um, slide from my end or your end?
Please, Ma, you can share from your end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So fundraising is, as we're going to be discussing it today, as I said, we're going to try to toe the path that aligns both for a startup business and for a nonprofit endeavor. We would learn how fundraising is a process. It is not just a task. It is not an event. It is not a project. It is a process that has so many steps. It is a strategic process that has so many steps that we need to fulfill for us to be able to achieve success. Okay, so oh, this is going to be. Is my slide clear? Because I think I downloaded it as a long image and not.
Yes, it's clear. We can see us. We can see them. Or we can see it rather.
Okay. Sorry. All right. Is it possible for me to engage the class for people to unmute their mics and answer some questions, or maybe just type in the chat box what they know about fundraising? I'll just like a simple definition, maybe one or two sentences, what you think fundraising is. Anyone?
Okay, fundraising could be defined as a sum total of a capital, um, usually given or donated by friends, or raised, not donated, raised up by friends, family members, or any startup such as the GoFunding, something insurance and all that, like just a means of how you raise up funds to start up your small scale business, are all termed as fundraising.
Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you very much for that. You have just highlighted some parts of fundraising, not the whole thing. Yes, thank you very much. So that is her experience with fundraising. Any other person?
Okay, Ma. Fundraising is the process whereby the person
Beauty, I can't hear you very well. Could you please increase
Okay.
your?
Ma, can you hear me very well, Ma?
Yes, this is
Can you
better.
hear me now? Okay.
Yes, I
Fundraising
can
is
hear
the
you now. This is
process
better.
whereby an entrepreneur sought for capital for his business, process of seeking for capital to start up his business, or to innovate his business. That's it.
Oh yeah, thank you very much. Yes, so fundraising is a process where a person raises funds to start up a business. You're all correct. You're all very correct. So yeah, as I said in this session, we're going to be exploring diverse funding sources, both those that will serve for a startup, someone starting a business, and those that will serve also for someone already in an existing business, whether it is a social enterprise or a commercial enterprise, whichever one you want to do. The strategies or the processes that we'll explore in this session today will serve for anybody, a startup, someone already in an existing business, a commercial enterprise, a social enterprise, whatever it is that you want to raise funds for. The most important thing is that you're raising funds. One other thing I want us to hold very dearly in this for this class is to recognize the importance of value exchange. I'm sure you've heard this term before, not just in this class, in many other classes that you have done. Same thing for fundraising. Even for us that are in the social impact sphere, you cannot just tell somebody that because you want to do good, they should give you money. There has to be some kind of value exchange. The person that is giving you his money, even if he's giving you the money from altruistic values or because he's a kind person or he's a philanthropist, he also wants to get some kind of value for his money. So we have to hold that, just hold that in your left hand, that there has to be some form of value exchange. Now, for a startup business, we know that the focus is mostly on profit, on return on investments for a startup. Your investors or whoever is giving you funds or raising funds for you expects some form of return on investment. This is similar, but unlike nonprofit, where it is, as I said, value exchange, you're creating value for the donor, either in the form of fulfilling their philanthropic values, fulfilling their philanthropic dreams or aspirations, or impact in their community. They are seeing change, they are seeing a positive change in their community, which you are helping them to bring about. So these are the two major differences between raising funds for a business, such as a startup, or for social impact, like in a nonprofit sphere. So some of the funding sources for a startup, like I have seen some of your group work have already explored that, the angel investors, venture capital, crowdfunding, like our first speaker spoke about. Sorry. Our first speaker spoke about raising funds from friends and family to be able to, yes, that is crowdfunding. So that is another funding source for a startup. And then strategic partnerships. I saw in some slides where people talked about networking and corporate relationships, yeah, corporate relationships. Yes, that is part of the strategic partnerships that you need if that is the route that you want to go for raising funds. So let us start with the angel investors. Angel investors are basically individuals who invest their personal funds or their personal equity into new companies, into startups, in return for maybe mentorship or profit, or sometimes they don't need anything from you. They don't require anything from you. They just probably believe in your vision, believe in what you're trying to achieve, and they invest. So these are angel investors. Angel investors typically, ideally, do not require anything in exchange. They're not asking you for your equity. They're not asking you for stakes or shares in your business. They're not asking you for anything. And sometimes too, they ask, but it's very fair. It's very fair to you because angel investors, the most important thing that they prioritize is your growth. They want that business to grow. They want the business to perform, to do well. So that's why they are called angel investors. The next another other source of funding that we can explore for startups is venture capital firms. Yes, I think we've heard this about VCs all over the place. And these are institutions that supply a larger investment for startups. They are giving you a huge chunk of capital to start up your business in exchange for stakes, in exchange for equity in your business. You know, they are usually the structure for seeking funds with venture capitalists is actually very rigorous because they require you to fulfill a lot of responsibilities and due diligence before you are fit for them to invest in you, because they have to be sure that you have the right structure, you have the right the whole process and systems for you to be able to give them the ROI, the return on investment that they require for the investments they are making in your startup. So yeah, that is a brief description of what venture capitalists are. And then for crowdfunding platforms, just like our sister said earlier, this it's a system where you gather little sums of money from a large number of people, from a large pool of people to invest in your business. These days, you can do that through online platforms, but I think before the advent of internet, before everything became so techy and easy, they had cooperatives. People had cooperatives and they had some, kind of local arrangements where they pool funds and make investments. I think in those days they had cooperatives where they pool funds monthly for them to be able to purchase properties where those properties now generate income for them, maybe rent or outright sale. Yeah. So it has always been in existence where a large number of people pool funds, to be able to start up a business or make an investment to generate profits. This method raises funds, but also it validates your market interest. You get feedback from how people respond to your business idea. The more funds you get, the more people you get interested in this, the more feedback, the more validation you get about what your business idea is. This is, yes, okay, people are interested in this business idea. This is something people want to run with. You get that kind of feedback also from crowdfunding. And then the final one, strategic partnerships, like I mentioned in the slide. These are collaborations and partnerships with established companies that can offer you capital along with expertise and market access. You are partnering or collaborating with companies that are already existing in your market space in where you want to penetrate. So they will serve as mentors. They're not just giving you capital, they're also supporting you with market access and expertise, probably because you are dealing with a segment of the market that they are not ready to invest in. So it is easier for them to support you to do that, and then you can share profits or whatever arrangement is favorable to both parties. So yes, that is that for some of the diverse funding sources for startups. Now for nonprofits, we know that most of our funds come from donors. They come from philanthropic organizations, they come from international NGOs, they come from donor agencies. And sometimes these days now, with the rise of social enterprises, we now have some nonprofits who engage in business activities and use the profits from those business activities just for social impact. They are not sharing profits still. They are not, how will I say, they don't have shareholders. Whatever they generate from their business enterprises is still going into the social impact or social enterprise that they are working with. Yeah. So as I said earlier, value exchange, we need to manage investor expectations to know that they need value in exchange for whatever they're giving you, whether it is expertise, whether it is funds, whether it is mentorship. You need to be able to give back. So you need to conduct thorough research to tailor your expectations to what you know that the investor or the donor can give you. So I think I have been able to give you a brief outline of the funding sources for startup businesses and for nonprofits and the difference between the two. Yeah, can I get a feedback? Do you think I have been able to do justice to that aspect?
Yes, you have.
Thank you very much. Okay, so moving on, the next slide, talking about the process of fundraising. Yeah, I mentioned in the beginning of this class that fundraising is not a project. It is not an event. It is not a task. It is not something you can achieve in 1 week or even 1 month. It is a process that requires planning, requires pitching, requires closing. Further down this session, we have something called the fundraising cycle that has up to 12 to 13 steps, from when you know what you want to ask for before you actually make your ask. There are about 12 to 13 steps of things that you need to do, steps that you need to put in place, processes that you need to follow from when you know what you want to ask for before you actually make your ask. Yeah, so we'll get to that part. First of all, I think we should talk about the fundraising cube. This fundraising cube, we use it mostly in the fundraising school for the development sector, nonprofit sector, but I think it can also work. It can also work for a startup. Yeah, so the fundraising cube, we know what a cube is. A cube is a six-sided square. A six-sided square. So the square, one part is your management, the other part is your institutional readiness, the other part is human resources, investor markets, and vehicles. I'll just explain this briefly. Management, basically, we know what that is. That is your team, the team that makes up your organization or your startup. Most importantly, the founder. Do you have the skills required for you to be able to push that mission, to push that vision? Do you have the skills required? If you do not, have you involved a talent that can do that for you? Who is on your board? Who are your stakeholders? Who are the people that you're going to be interfacing with, both internal and external? That is very important for you to have. How ready are you? Institutional readiness just basically speaks to, do you have the systems and the processes and the structure in place for you to be able to maximize the potential of whatever funds that you raise? Are you ready institutionally? Do you have the structure? Do you have that structure in place? That is basically what institutional readiness means. The next one is human resources. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. It's different from management. Management is the process. Human resources is the people. So do you have the people? Do you have the talent that you need for you to be able to achieve your goal for that company? And the next one is the investor markets. Investor markets basically means the different type of pool, the different types of sources. We have talked about some sources earlier. We talked about the VC, the angel investor, the strategic partnerships. So those are examples of investor markets. Now, your investor market has to align with your vision or your mission, what it is that you want to do with your company. For example, some types of investor markets that we have in the nonprofit sector. We have the corporates, we have foundations, we have international organizations, we have individuals in the nonprofit sector. Now, in the, in the startup sphere, we talked about the angel investors, the VCs, and the partnerships, corporate partnerships, and all that. Now, does your goal align with the market that you are moving for? For example, you want to, maybe your business is in financial technology, fintech. I think that's the in thing now. That's what everybody has been talking about. It's in fintech. Your investor markets will definitely comprise of people in finance, the companies in finance, corporate bodies in finance. You don't now go and start seeking for funds for somebody that is from maybe agricultural companies or processing companies, or I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. You have to tailor your ask, you have to tailor your pitch, you have to tailor your process to the investor markets that you are pitching for. If you're going into if your business is about finance, definitely your investor market is everything, all the bodies, all the organizations, the companies, regulators, everybody that is in the finance sector. You're not going into the agriculture, you're not going to the industry sector with your business pitch or with your ask. The same thing for us in the social enterprise, social and impact sphere. If I'm working in education, if I'm talking about education for orphans or education for young children, out of school children, I am not going to go to a foundation that is raising funds for widows. I'm not going to go to a foundation that is raising funds for climate change. Okay, so this is how you tailor your ask, you tailor your pitch and your process to your investor markets. Now, vehicles, how are you going to ask? The vehicles are your how. What are the processes that you are going to use? Are you going to develop pitch decks that you will be sharing to this investor markets, to these people? Are you going to design a presentation that works only for one-on-one meetings? This is the kind of acts you want to make. You need to have one-on-one meeting, lunch, breakfast meetings with your investors or your potential donors. These are the type of vehicles that we're talking about. The techniques and the tools that you want to use, the how you're going to make your ask. And then the dynamic functions basically is how all this works together. How your management, your institutional readiness, the investor markets, the vehicles, human resources, how do you merge them to work together? How do you collaborate, as in make them align with each other to give you this resource that you want? That is basically what dynamic function is. How do you merge all these different sides of the cube to cohere and give you what you want to make your fundraising effective. So that's that about the fundraising cube. Now, what I have been talking about the fundraising cycle. Excuse me. Yeah, the fundraising cycle. I said we have about 13 steps, so let us count them together. Examine the case 1, analyze the market 2, prepare needs statement 3, define objectives 4, involve volunteers 5, validate your needs statement 6, evaluate your gift market 7, identify potential gift sources 8, prepare your fundraising plan 9, prepare your communication plan 10, activate your volunteers 11, solicit the gifts 12. So this is where you ask. This is the 12th step where you ask. And then you demonstrate stewardship. And then the cycle goes on. So this is why fundraising is a process. This is why it cannot happen at one event. This is the reason. So examining your case. This is your mission. This is your mission, vision, goals, all those things. Now, how specific is your case? How specific is your mission? Your mission must answer 3 questions. Why are you doing what you're doing? What will happen if you are not there? What will happen? What's the world situation going to be like if you are not doing what you are doing, if you're not providing that solution that you're providing? And what is the difference? What is different from the other? What's the difference in your solution from the other solutions available in the market? These are the 3 questions that your mission must answer. And it must be very clear. I have seen so many vague and bogus missions that as a first timer, as an outsider, I am reading your mission and I don't even know what you're talking about. You're talking about how you are using social orientation to change it's so vague and bogus. Like your mission to speak to whoever is saying it immediately, as clear and as, as clear as possible. It should speak to whoever is reading it, that they know where you're coming from, they know what you're trying to say, and they know where you're going to. You don't need to come and start explaining your mission to someone. So examining your case is defining your mission, your goals, and what your USP is. That is your case. In the nonprofit sector, we call it a case for support. If I am developing an initiative, if I'm developing a project now of what I want to do, I want to build schools for out-of-school children, I have to develop a case for support. Why is that school necessary? What will happen if that school is not there? What is different in my school that other schools, other people that have been trying to educate out-of-school children have not been able to do? This is my case for support. Your case for support has to be clear on your mission, on your goals, and what is unique about your solution. The next one is for you to analyze the markets. You are conducting an in-depth analysis of the markets to measure the trends and investor interest or donor interests. Investor interest. I think we should just focus on investor interest. Since I'm not talking to people that are planning to go into the nonprofit sector. I'm talking to people that are trying to start up businesses. So let us just focus on investors for now. Yeah. So you have to identify trends and investor interest, the market gaps, the existing trends. What are you saying that investors are currently hyped about? What is the market hyped about? What is trending and people are interested in putting their money into? And does your solution also fall into that? You have to do all this analysis and be sure that you know what you need. Have you been able to analyze the market trends in order for you to clarify your need? You have clarified your goal and your mission. Now, clarify your need and make sure that your need aligns with what is happening in the market. That is what you will now use to prepare your need statements. Your needs statement is going to be clear on how much capital is needed, what you want to use it for, and how does it align with your mission and your goals, and then your objectives. Your objectives are basically the milestones. How are you going to achieve the little steps that you need to achieve your goal? That is the objectives. The little things, the milestones that you reach for you to achieve that big vision, that big mission. Those are your objectives. So define your objectives, set the milestones on how the funding will help you achieve each milestone. Yeah, that's what I mean. Funding targets. That is your objectives. And then build your team. In building your team, you are involving volunteers. Now, I will not want to make it like a law that it has to be volunteers. There are some points where you don't have a choice when you're bootstrapping to use or get help from volunteers. And you will get to a stage where you cannot just rely on volunteers anymore. You have to build a team. You have to build a team that gets value too from this process. So for now, you're involving volunteers in that you are talking to them about your vision, you're talking to them about your mission and your objectives. You are trying to get buy-in from volunteers, from people that are going to be part of your team. You are carrying them along in the vision drive so that they are on the same page with you, so that you have their buy-in and you are on the same page. All of you are on the same page together, so that when you start this process, it's not just the founder, it is the whole team moving together, to drive the vehicle forward. So the next step is to validate your need statement, validate your business model. How are you going to run this business? What kind of models are you going to be using? And are they viable? The business models that you're going to be using, are they viable? Are they sustainable? Can they work when you are not there? Those kind of things. Your business model, that is what you're talking about in the where are we? Validating your need statements, evaluating the gift market. Okay, for startups, it's going to be us validating your business model and evaluating the investor markets. And the next one is identifying the potential investors. After you have done the analysis of the different investor markets that are available, now you're going to segment them and identify the ones that you can work with, the ones that will be able to, how will I put it? The ones that your needs align with. Just like I mentioned earlier, they need what they are interested in, what is trending, what they want to build has to also fall in line with what you are trying to build. You cannot be coming from different parts of the road. You have to be on parallel, you have to be on the same path. And then the next one is to prepare your plan. Now, preparing your comprehensive plan, and it involves, like I said, the vehicles and also, yes, the plan. How do you want to go about this? You're going to choose from different types of instruments. Are you using any of those funding sources that we talked about? Each of those funding sources that we talked about have the different vehicles that you use to approach them. If it is angel investors that you want to approach, you are approaching them with the viability of your startup, of your business. If it is VCs that you're approaching them with also the viability, sustainability, and equity. What are you offering them? So these are different vehicles for the different types of sources that you're approaching. You have to analyze them and know how to approach them. And your fundraising plan. Fundraising plan is not just the big money, the big lump sum that you need for you to run your business. It includes your budget, your annual budget, what you're going to be using to run the operation, while you are doing the while run operations and your big capital, the fixed capital. So these are all the things that you need to put into your fundraising plan. I'm breaking it down like that because for us in the nonprofit sector, we have what we call the annual fund and the campaigns, and then the capital fund. So the capital fund is the big projects that we want to do for that year, the big projects that we want to do for that year, that school that we want to build for that year, or maybe a business that we want to open for widows for that. That's our capital campaign. And then we have the annual fund. The annual fund is what we use to run our nonprofits for the year, salaries, rents, utilities, and all that. So how we are going to raise funds for our annual fund is different from how we are raising funds for our capital campaign. If for example, my annual funds, I could decide to start a Facebook campaign for my annual funds. I will list all the things what our organization stands for, all the things that we have been able to achieve all this while we are existing, what we are going, the impact that we are able to create. And people will now say, okay, yes, this people deserve to be paid. And they start donating. But when I need to build a school, a 50 million naira school, I'm not going to social media to go and campaign. Social media cannot be a vehicle for me to raise such kind of funds. So I'm going to my major donors, and I'm going to the corporate partners that I have, and it is a whole different vehicle that I'm going to use to approach them. I hope I'm communicating. So you have to tailor your vehicles to the type of source, to the type of market that you are going to in your fundraising plan. And then you prepare a communication plan. So the communication plan, these are your brochures, your flyers, your letters, your email plan, your emailing list. Basically, that's what we mean by your communication plan. And then you activate your volunteers. So all these things, plans, all these steps that you have put in place, how I implementation is where your team comes in. That's where you and your team are going to be doing the legwork and the brain work. So that is what activating your volunteers mean. And this is the point where you can now make your ask. You're making your ask, and you already know what you want to ask for. You already launched the vehicle that you want to use. Now you are making your ask. Now you are soliciting for the funds that you require, and then the next thing is for you to demonstrate stewardship. Stewardship basically is the after ask process. The after ask process. Basically, you have gotten the gift, and now you are going to keep the relationship. You are going to continue to talk to your investors or your donors. You're going to keep them up to date about what is going on with you, how the plan is moving, and yeah, all that. So I think I have come to the final part of the fundraising cycle. Yes, I will share the material. I'll definitely share the material. I will even share some of my lesson notes so that you can have explanations for this different parts of the cycle. That will not be a problem, inshallah. Yeah, so okay, I think the next part of the slide is a brief explanation of the fundraising cycle, what you need to do at every stage. Yeah. So there you have it. And then we're going to jump right into crafting a compelling pitch. Because we're jumping into this because this is where another point of alignment. If it is a non-profit, if it is a startup, this is another point of alignment, because we all pitch. We all need to create a compelling pitch, and we all need to pitch because you have to say what you need to say for you to get what you want. So we are creating a compelling pitch. One thing that is very important about creating your pitch is to take advantage of storytelling. Storytelling is very important. In as much as you want to sound technical, in as much as you want to show impact, you want to show results, somehow you have to weave that into a story. I created a case for support when I was trying to do projects for Almajiri children, because I'm in the north, I'm in Kano State, and we have this pandemic. We have Almajiri children all over the streets. They are out of school, they are begging, they are hawking. Yeah. So I was going to create a case for support. You see, that is a phenomenon that everybody sees around them. It is very common. Everybody knows that this is a problem. So it was very easy for me to weave a story out of that and show results and show impact and show how my program is going to create change when I was drafting my case. So this is very important. You need to tell your story in such a way that it shows these three things. It shows results, it shows impact, it shows change that you're planning to make. What is your USP? Everything has to be in your story. And then, okay, number two is data. Data is very important. You have to also infuse data into your pitch. As I was saying, like for storytelling, it is giving your pitch an element of individuality, relatability. You know, people are saying that, okay, this person's problems are problems that I also have faced at one point in time, or I am facing currently. And yeah, this is the ingenious thing that this person is using to solve this problem. So that is one of the things that storytelling will do for you. And then integrating data and visuals, pictures, videos, graphs, charts for you to show the current situation of things, what is happening in the markets, what you expect is going to happen in the markets in the nearest future, and how your solution is going to change that or is going to improve that. And then you also talk about risk, because people want to see, okay, you have said all these beautiful things. What happens if this? What happens if that? You need to address risk factors in your pitch. You need to show them that you have anticipated some narratives. You have anticipated some possible risk, and you are going to show them how you plan to mitigate those risks. So this kind of shows that you have contingency strategies. This shows that you have backup plan whenever you are making your pitch. Yeah, so these are some of the tools that we use for our fundraising. Yes, the pitch deck that we just talked about. Most of the time, it comes in the form of a presentation. It could be a documentary, it could be a PowerPoint presentation, it could be picture slides, it could be a narrative, but it has to be visual. Whatever tool you are using, it has to be visual, it has to be engaging. And then, yes, financial modeling, we project the financial aspects, financial projections, what we want, how we're going to use it, and all that. And then how we plan to continue the investor relationship. So I'm going to fly away from here and go to the soft skills aspect. Now, one question for everyone. Can someone type in the chat box what you think the difference between leadership and management? Is there a difference between leadership and management, and what is the difference? Anyone?
Yes, ma'am. I think
Okay.
I think leadership is being in the front line of your business, being ahead, like you leading people, like everybody looking up to you. You're treading in paths where people are aspiring to be. Why management is when that path has already been trailed, when that goal has already been accomplished. Someone who will see to it that is continuously being the process of it is a continuous one, continuous being productive. The productive aspect of that part has already been true. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so personally, I feel leadership involves being like the focal point of a project or a business or a group or anything like that. It revolves, okay, if there's any decision to be made, if there's anything that we have to do, you're the one that's going to be at the focal point. Or even if it's not just one person, the group of people that are in the positions of leadership, they're the ones that make the decisions. They make okay, if this is going to be detrimental to our business and our future goals, we're not going to do this. If this is going to be positive, we're going to do it. This kind of like I would say high risk decision taking is what people in leadership positions do,
The
and
leader
what,
does.
yeah, what a leader does. When when we talk about management, we talk about okay the wider aspects of understanding how some things run, how some things don't run. Okay, if you're running a transport business, management is understanding okay how long can your car go, or can this car go before it runs out of fuel? How long can it go without you doing servicing the engine and doing all of that? So management is more of the broader understanding or broader how can I say this now? Broader aspects, I would say, of I can say you can bring it under leadership, but it's broader because there are other things that are involved in management. So that if you don't manage things properly, you can't lead it properly. That's
Okay.
how I feel.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you. You got it. You got it. Yes, you're on track. You're on track. Beauty as well, you're on track. Where I'm going to leaders take the high risk decisions and managers kind of follow the process. Yes. Yes. Okay. Bright, you want to say something?
Yes, in simple terms, I just want to say leadership is people-oriented, while management is task-oriented. Management involves coordinating, planning, while leadership inspires people, to get people and all of that.
Absolutely. Yes, that is basically it. That's basically it. Leadership is more long range. The leader is the vision. The leader is the one that sees the big picture, the vision. The manager is the one that is putting the processes together, putting the systems in place for you to achieve that vision. You understand? So yes, a manager administers, they maintain processes, the control measures, the follow, the put in place systems and structures, the how, the when, the who. That is what a manager does. The leader is the one who innovates, who develops, who harnesses, who has the long range view. So the difference now for our session, for our course, for what we want to do between leader and manager is that for your internal processes, you are the manager. For your external relationships, you are a leader. Okay, that is why the title of this slide is Transformational Investor Relationships. External, that is where leadership comes in, because it is beyond the money that you get. It is beyond the support that you are getting. It is beyond mentorship. It is a relationship. It is beyond a transactional relationship. It is a transformational relationship that you have to build with your prospective donors, with your prospective investors, or even existing donors and investors. You have to build a transformational relationship. You have to see it beyond a transaction. You have to see it beyond a transactional relationship. I have gotten what I want. After all, they're going to get their profits. Let us know. You have to keep building that relationship. That is why it is a cycle. You have done all these things. You have you have gone through all that process before you made your ask. You have made your ask. It still continues. You are still stewarding. You are still re-examining your case. You are iterating and going back and doing it all over again. So fundraising is all about building transformational relationships. All this English that we have been speaking since morning is for you to build relationships that transform your business, relationships that move you from one phase to the next. So look beyond the transactions, build relationships that foster transparency and trust, and show qualities of a visionary leader. Let people see that you are looking at the vision, you are looking at the big picture, you are looking at where you're going. You have seen that picture of how you are the foremost, you are pushing money points out of the market, and you are the foremost fintech company in Nigeria. You are seeing that picture. So your team and your managers and you as well are just breaking it down into little steps, into little milestones for you to get to that big picture. Yeah, so that is what we're going to say. Talk about leadership as one of the soft skills that you need for you to have an effective fundraising for your business. Okay, so here is where I talk about the role of leadership and management in fundraising. Internal management. You see, management focuses on the administrative functions and operational efficiency. The leader inspires confidence and sets a clear vision for the future, and then align management and the leadership to achieve your fundraising goals. So I think we have come to the last slide, which is challenges and mitigation strategies. This is just like an overview. I just put together some of the challenges that we usually face in this industry, in this sector, and like a one-liner solution for you on how to deal with such challenges. So yeah, I think it's basically it's self-explanatory: valuation concerns, dilution, competitive market conditions, and one-liner solutions of how you can mitigate such challenges. So I don't know how many minutes have I used so far. I haven't gone beyond. I would like to take a Q&A. I would like to do a Q&A. That's why I'm rushing, so because I want to answer some questions.
Oh, okay. We'll be taking questions later on, Ma. We
Okay,
have
after the whole session. Oh, okay,
yes.
awesome. All right, so yeah, that brings me to the end of my session, and I hope I have been able to answer some of your questions and I've been able to pass on some value. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you so much, Miss Rafiat, for a very, very, very wonderful presentation on today's topic. So we'll be taking questions later on in the session. We still have 2 more mentors for today's class. We would like to also get their discourse. I think we'll be going straight to Mr. Owolabi. Thank you so much, so I can see you. Thank you for joining us. Also, we would like to hear from you on what you have to share with us for today's class.
So good morning, Dennis. Good morning. First of all, I will ask for permission to not switch on my video. I'm a little bit under the weather, but it was impossible to not just be here. It's always nice to have to share something, and also right when Miss Rafiat is around, she makes the job easy and also difficult to come after. So please pardon me to not switch on my video. Um, and yeah, I would start with that. So also pardon me if I have like sort of like a crooked voice, still trying to get better with like drugs usage and all. But to start with, Miss Mafiat, literally, like I mentioned, is usually easy and a bit difficult to follow up with Ms. Rafayat. Good afternoon, everybody. And really to speak about funding strategies for startup. And she really mentioned some of the things I would want to speak about. I'll be a bit quite faster than she was, if it be. But really, I wanted us to be able to speak about fundraising. Ms. Rafayat dwelled on that, what who funders are, what a business model is. She spoke really around business model. What does it take to build a business model? How do you engage them, and what are the how to explore funding opportunity or funding options for your startup? Similar to Ms. Rafiat, I'm also in the NGO space, but I'll try to also include this for-profit organization also as I go along the way. But to start with, Ms. Rafiat really spoke about fundraising in itself, and certain people try to help us to define it. But fundraising in itself it's a process. It's both strategic and both systematic. It's not something, like I said, it's not something you arrive to in a day. It's a process. I like to say it's a continuous engagement. It's a marathon and not a sprint. It's not something you just do. And most people get that illusion that you can get, even especially from the NGOs, you get a fundraiser and the person just brings in money. Or even a startup, you just engage someone who has experience in fundraising and they help you getting funding to it. That is an illusion in itself. Fundraising is a process. It's something that is continuous. It never ends. It's strategic and it's a marathon and not a sprint. And you realize even for startup, whether you're getting grants, whether you're getting equity, whether you're getting debt to raise funds for your business, um, it's not something that just happens once. Relationships are built, you leverage relationships, you do certain things. Mr. Rafia talks about value. Nobody just gives you money because just simply because they're a philanthropist and they want to give money to it, but it's something that is like value is being exchanged. And you have to understand that in fundraising being a process for that, you have to continue to do the things you need to do to be able to get the funding. I also like to define, and so I'm defining fundraising. It's a process. I like to also define that fundraising is a team effort. Everybody literally wants to everybody expects the fundraiser in the organization, especially in the NGOs, and for startups that use that, or expect the manager alone to literally be in charge of, pardon, to be in charge of fundraising alone. But fundraising is the role and responsibility of the entire organization. I like to quote my boss, Adenike, that says fundraising is the job role and responsibility of the organization. You need to build a fundraising culture. And this literally, whether NGO, whether startup, once you understand that fundraising is not the role of one person, it's the whole entire organization that in itself, you begin to look at things differently. And I'll give this practical example. You go into a store to get let me say, anything as random as you're going to get maybe in the all, right? You're raising funds technically by, getting a profit for your own organization, or even it's an NGO. Everybody that the funds are realized, sorry about that. My son was crying. I had to just find a way to. So I was giving the example of when you then go into, please pardon me.
Sorry about that. I apologize. So when you go into maybe a customer comes into your business, yeah, for profit organization, or even a founder walks in down to into your office, everybody's attention, the way the person describes, the way talks about your mission, your vision, literally speaks into how whether you get to raise fund or retain the fund in itself. So everybody is it, and you can build a fundraising culture. Maybe to give the example, because I work in the not-for-profit, right? There's the part where you raise fund, and there are people who implement the program, the project to it to go alongside. Because in sometimes the project managers, the ones not that raise the fund, right? There's the temptation to say, well, we are just implementing the program. The fundraising part is not our part, but that's usually an erroneous thought, because in itself, the way you implement the program, the fundraiser or the fundraising team can tell your story, sell you very well, but the way you then do the work then determines whether you get subsequent funding or not. And it's also the same law in terms of for profit. If you get a grant from a business, from a funder, for instance, you raise funds for your business and you actually don't use the fund the right way, you then are not able to subsequently get fund, because the funding group or circle is not really that large. Everybody speaks to each other. Every funder speaks to, like there's a communication somewhere, somewhat. But when you're a business, a startup, you get some funding, you implement your funding, you use the funding the right way. Your team understands that the getting the funding is everybody's effort. Everybody pitch in to getting the fund. When the fund comes in, everybody pitch in to really do the job in itself. You realize that, yeah, funding can continue to go alongside it. Fundraising is also storytelling, in my own thought, in being a systematic and strategic process. You need to be able to connect art to mind, whether you're for profit or not for profit. You need to, like, speaking about value again, you need to be able to connect your mission to what any funder would want to listen to, what any funder would be interested in. You need to be able to connect art to mind. Everyone wants to give, or your funder would want to support you one way or the other, but you need to be able to link their art to their mind to be able to give you that particular funding. And usually people think storytelling is being like over ambiguous, saying a lot of things, not telling the truth. But I've learned to see that storytelling is just you selling the organization, telling people your story from your own perspective, and being able to connect that to the funder itself. And I will give a practical example in this sense to say, if you're a for-profit organization, right, and let me say you make solar panels, right? So you help people with renewable energy, and your product gives people lighting. Once maybe just a small pack solar system that you build, that you sell to people, and then you're approaching a funder who is keen into saving the environment, climate change, and the rest. You don't go and then say, oh, we do renewable energy. Like, you tell your story in a way that suits or matches what the funder, without telling lies, what the funder is looking to give out. Oh, the person is concerned about saving the environment, and you can tell to say, oh, renewable energy is clean, it's faster, it's safer, it doesn't pollute the environment. You're selling your product, but you're selling it by connecting the act of the founder to their money to be able to give you the funding. Fundraising is also trust. It's also building trust, and that you can only do through competency and consistency, through integrity and reliability. Don't seek for funding if you're not going to be competent. Don't seek for funding if you're not going to be consistent. If you're not going to be, you cannot be trusted. There's no point for you to just seek for funding. Just completely ignore it, because you only not hurt your own self in terms of like discrediting yourself when you fail to be competent, to be consistent, to be reliable when you mess up with a funder. But you also discredit and destroy every other person's opportunity to be able to actually get funding from that particular funder, right? And you see, with the fundraising scale in the world at the moment. With Trump, USAID, tariffs, things are changing, and you need to be able to not just play your part for your own organization, but for the entire ecosystem. You have to be consistent. You have to build that trust. And there are challenges that come up during, I must say this, there are challenges that come up when you raise fund. You probably tell your fund that you will do X, Y, Z, Z, and things change halfway. Like, be sure to really reach out to the funder and tell the funder, oh, there's a problem. Like, don't let the funder find out themselves that there's a problem. Tell them early, inform them, be transparent. In some cases, you might lose that funding. And I'm saying in extreme cases, you probably told the funder you reach or support 400 people, or they're giving you funding for your business startup, and you guys are creating a prototype that would revolutionize the way that particular product is being sold. But along the way, you've gotten the funding, the prototype failed. It's very difficult to go back and tell the funder. But I tell you, you might go back to the funder, they might not really give you the remaining. Maybe they've given you 75%, 25% is remaining. They might not really give you that 25%. But do you know what you've done for that funder? That funder, you build trust with the organization, with the person that is relating with you. And because people move, that person will go somewhere else. And they can be sure that next time they meet you, they might remember that, yes, your business failed, but they trust you that you will tell them the truth. When they want to pick something very delicate, they want a little bit of transparency, they'll think of you. So you have to be consistent, you have to be competent, you have to have that integrity, you have to be reliable at every point in time. And I'll go quickly to speak about who a funder is. We typically all know who a funder is, and I don't mind. I can just pause a bit to, in the chat box, let everybody just tell us what they define or what they understand by a funder. Who's a funder to you? Who do you classify a funder to? I will look, and anybody can also mute and tell us also who they think a funder is. I'll be in the chat box. I don't mind if anybody stretch their hand. So I also know that I'm having the attention of everybody, and everybody can hear me loud and clear. My voice is not too cracky or too bad that you're not enjoying the session. So of course, I'm in the chat box looking. Wow, it's a quiet group. I hope you can hear me. Dennis, please confirm that you can hear me. I hope I've not been talking. Okay, thank you very much. Inia Christine, Christ David, sorry, pardon me. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. So my voice is okay. Thank you. Perfect. So does anybody want to tell us who they consider if for God's favor, please you could unmute and then speak.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Oh, good morning.
Okay, my name is Yene Christ David. So a founder can be an individual or an organization or even a company that provides a form of financial support to any thing somebody wants to do. That's who a founder is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. God's favor, you could go next.
All right, I was going to say something very similar to what she said. So it's basically an individual, company, organization, or a brand basically that provides financial or other material resources to support maybe a business, an initiative, an idea, or whatsoever.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Those are very interesting definition. And literally, I studied political science in school. I always think that there's usually no one perfect way to define anything, as most political scientists will tell you. In my opinion, and Ian was a bit right, and also God's favor, a funder is an individual, an organization, or an institution that provides both financial and non-financial resources to support your mission goals, often with an interest in achieving shared impact. And I have to be clear to tell you that, when you look at fundraising, don't look at fundraising from the perspective of money alone. A funder in itself might not give you money, might give you some level of recognition, some level of support, some level of, just attrition to it. Thank you, Chino. So, see someone that gives you money to support a project, they usually expect a product or service. They usually don't expect a product or service. They just want to help make something. But yeah, so I agree with all the definitions, but I always have to say it in mind that, still going back to Mr. Rafiat's detail, every funder, wherever there's a shared, there's a the value they are getting. They might be completing their CSR, it might be for tax reasons, but a funder usually have something they want to see. It might even be just to create something amazing. It's the impact they are concerned about. Something to also mention is funders are usually they don't usually provide only financial support. They usually provide non-financial support. And sometimes when I've spoken, people have asked me, oh, I'm a startup, I've been trying to get funding, I've not been able to get funding. I just started 2 years ago. How do I get funding? And usually, whether NGO, whether startup, what I usually tell them is at the very beginning, should you be looking for funding? Should be looking for, like, if you try to get funding, you've not got funding, have you tried to look for partnerships where you and a much old or a much bigger, more known organization come together to do something? That way, giving yourself a level of credibility with funders. And one example I like to give is, somebody does a training for widows, right? They've been running the business for like the NGO for like 2 years, you know, and in the 2 years, they've not been able to get funding. The founder and everybody would volunteer together to get money to go. And when they reach out to funders, it's not like funders don't like the vision, don't like the goal, don't like the things that they're trying to achieve. It's just that they're like new kids around the block in terms of like what they do. People don't know them, people don't trust them, they don't even have a board. But you see, when that business then, works up to like a Pepsi, a Coca-Cola, a 7-Up, and say, or an NBC, like their bottling company, and say, see, we do this, knowing that, still speaking to what Mr. Piata said, to say that you can't just simply approach anybody. You have to have done your research to know what that the funder desires and goals align with yours. They work up with a Pepsi. Maybe I should use education because Coca-Cola is really keen on education. So you then walk up to Coca-Cola and say, oh, we have this program. We don't want you to give us money. Just be a partner with us. Just bring Coke for us. We want Coke only served that day. Just they need how maybe 2 packs of Coke with a packed Coke, a Coke fridge. We'll do publicity. We'll put your name together. If you're going to cope with such a proposal, they are more likely to accept that when you're saying, oh, we need 10 million there for this. And what that conversation will do for you is, once you learn like aspect Coke, for instance, you can put Coke on your impact report as a funder, as a partner that you achieve the program together. And when you're approaching other organizations, they've seen Coca-Cola partner with you, it then becomes much easier for you to get people to look at you because you're building traction and I digress regarding that, but like you're building traction regarding that. And I try to like sort of like mention some of the things a funder would give you, grants, which is like promises for most not-for-profit and even startup organization in itself. Most startups are getting individual donations, corporate sponsorship, contract, government. I will sort of like get to that later. I wanted to speak briefly about business model that Mr. Rafael also made reference to. A business model, like money is key, right? Everybody knows money is key. NGO, startup, money is very, very key to achieving impact, to achieving profit. And there's this usual Yoruba adage that says, "Owo ni keke ìhìnrere," which means a ministry or a mission without money is just like a vehicle without a wheel. You can't move it. The vehicle is beautiful, it's nice, it has these old goals, this old ambition, but you can't move it, you can't achieve, you can't go anywhere to literally achieve your mission or the ministry. And so what I usually say is that a business model helps you to think about your profit. And I know that on the call, we might have certain people that fit all the categories of this. Hence why this was done the way it was done. Sorry, okay. I lost a bit access to my screen. Okay, I'm back now. So now to speak about what a business model structure looks like, right? There are usually these 5 spectrum to what a business model structure looks like. We have the for-profit, we have the non-for-profit structure. And given that we might have anybody on the call, to start for not-for-profit, because I expect like we have more startups who have for-profit on the call. There are traditional not-for-profit organizations that just seek grant only. They're just, grant focused. That's how they get their funding and only grants. And we have profit organizations that have a little bit of end revenue and fees. Something to also say is if there's anybody that is in the NGO space here, NGO is not for profit. It doesn't mean it's for loss. You shouldn't have an NGO that is running on loss while you know, while because you're trying to make impact, you're then rolling on loss. You need to be able to plan your NGO in terms of funding to be able to cover the cost of everything you do. And then in the middle of the spectrum is what we call the social enterprise, where people who run business but make profit and then they use that profit back into the business to continue the impact with that. And then we have for the for profit, and then we have businesses that basically at the right extreme spectrum, who are traditional business are just focused on making more money, reducing cost of operations, increasing profits. And we have some people who are a bit closer to like the mid where their businesses they are concerned about profits, but they also have strong social responsibility focus. Sorry. And the reason why I wanted us to show this is you need to be able to understand where your business stand, where your startup stand in this spectrum. Are you a traditional business that's just simply focused on profit? And you could move through because we've seen social enterprise who in the middle of it, or NGOs who literally started like pure grants that moved into any something some revenues and then moved into social enterprise. Since some social enterprise, then just to say, okay, yeah, we love impact, but we're just going to be a business that makes profit and also have that strong social responsibility. We see traditional businesses that then come back into so uh, so Emmanuel, it would be good for you to stop helping me put um marks on my slides. But yeah, going back, we then have traditional business to really come into it. Some traditional business have been forced to it. Maybe the oil and gas businesses. They have to like because of the mining of oil or yes, in some communities they've had to do certain things like come up with like this strong social responsibility focus to be able to give back to the community where they work in. And as you begin to define, as a startup, as you begin to define what your business model structure is, it then begins to give you context in how you want to fundraise, in how you want to explore, who do you want to speak to. And I wanted to show like a business model Canva to be able to help you in. This is a business model Canva that, and we're not doing business model Canva, so there's a whole lot of training and speaking about this. But what a business model Canva is, it helps you in understanding how your business is structured. It helps you understand who your key partners are, which activities, how do you get money in. And to start from my own left, and I think the left of everybody is to start with how do you create value? Like key partners, who are your key partners? Who are the people that ensure that you're able to deliver your programs that support you in cash and kind? What are the key activities you do to be able to generate funds? What are the key resources that help you to generate funds? That speaks to create value. And then your value proposition, what makes it different? How do you then deliver your value? What's the relationship with you and your customer? How do you build and maintain those relationships? What are the channels that you use to reach your customer and also generate? What are the customer segments that you have? And it's interesting that certain persons will tell you, well, my businesses are not for my for profit. My startup is like our target niche is the rich. Our target niche is the poor. Our target niche is a mix of both. Our target niche is well, we meet everybody's needs. It could be like a fashion business to say, well, we service just the rich. We service just the rich and the rich and the less privileged. We service everybody. There's a product for everybody. You need to be able to segment those key persons and then come to cost structure. Most of the things that helps you in running your business, in running your organization, and then how does your revenue come for you? I would give maybe a bit of an example to say, like there's a fashion business I know that does like their key partners are really the people that have used their products and their tailors and their tailors. So this owner owns the business, but then employs tailors to then sew for them, right? To sew for this thing. And the activities is they simply come in, you come in, you get your style, and then you tell them what you want. Do you want 50 clothes? Do you want 20 clothes? Do you want them to get material for you? Do you want to give material to them? And they give you. And it is key. The resources that they need is the sewing, like the um expensive sewing machines that are in their offices, and the value that they give is that you simply tell them how many you want. Like you, once your measurement is done, whether you come in or they come to you to get your measurement, once it is done, you literally can tell them, oh, I want 40 clothes shown this entire year. And this business I'm saying closes operation in terms of like taking orders by October every year. In fact, even before October sometimes, because people want more clothes in December and they get all their businesses. That's the value, that's the niche. They're not serving everybody. Their niche is the rich who knows what they want. As programs, so they sign 40 clothes, and as events comes up, they tell you what the events want to look like, and they sew for them. And the value position also is that once you make your order, you get it in less than 4 days, and you don't have to, like, they sew so well that you don't have to come in for fitting. That's how amazing it is. If you think you're gaining weight, if you think you are adding weight to it, you communicate to them, and they ensure that that is being added to their own database. And the way they build their relationship is they constantly tell you, they see new ideas, new styles that they think you like. So the experience for each customer is tailored, right? They send emails with mostly women send emails with magazines or fashion events that have happened up with pictures, but it is created in such a way that it meets everybody. And so they have customers who have been long serving, they have customers who are new. Long serving customers, if you've been a customer for like about 5 years, when you start doing 50 clothes a year, there's a particular discount for you. And the person understand, oh, in terms of like they train some entrepreneurs, they train some tailors rather, give them experience before they get on the machine. If you want to leave, you sign a contract, you can't leave after between 2 years. And I'm just trying to give really what a business model would cover. And the reason is once you think through this process, understand who your key partners is, the key activities, the value proposition, the key resources, your customer relationships, the commerce segment, the channels, your revenue stream, your cost structure, your business comes a bit alive and in a different way. You're able to see end to end what are the things that brings in money, what are the things that cost money for you, what are the things that are key, the things you cannot lose out, the things you can leverage on, the things you can change in a different manner to get what you need. And once that is then done, you can then begin to define your financial needs. I usually like to go through this process to say, like, and somewhat is focused on NGO, but I'll also explain. So, what is the problem or what is the solution for NGOs? What's the problem? What's the solution you are making? What's your impact and focus mission? For startups, it would be something around what is what is the product that we have? How are we selling the product? What makes our product different? What's the added value to our product? What's our strategic framework as an organization? And in terms of like program delivery approach for NGOs, will be how do you develop program? What is your structure implementation model? For a startup or for a complete organization will be how do you sell your product? How do you get services to those who need them? How do you maintain? Then operational framework is who are the key persons you need in your organization? Who are the key persons that helps you in delivering the work? And it's key to mention that everybody is important in your organization structure, especially for a startup. Your cleaners, how do they clean? You don't want customers walking into your place and feel like your place is dirty, especially maybe you're a health-related business, for instance. You don't want customers coming in smelling foul smelling your organization. You need to be able to put structure in place. Who is important? Who is key? How much do you pay them? What's your unique selling point, your value selling? What makes you different from the next person? Who are your competitors? What's the edge you have over them? And then your income structure then comes last in terms of at the very beginning, before your business break even for startups, how do you then sustain yourself? And that's where grants come in. That's when your fees come in. That's when investments. Who can give me what, when, and how? I can now convince people to see that my business is going to be productive in the first year. And usually we advise businesses like in their first 3 years of existence. Hello, sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You went off for a bit, but we can hear you now, sir.
Sorry, sorry, sorry. Thank you. And so your income structure then begin to understand, oh, grants, fees, investment. I was saying that usually, my own advice is usually to say, oh, as a for-profit organization, as a for-profit in the first 3 years, don't sell yet, don't give out investment, just look for grant that can help you so you can build the business. And so that because at the very first 3 years, especially when you meet a investor that can literally build the business, read the market very well, you would sell your business at a very cheaper price to an investor who would obviously support you. But if you build the business, you take time to build your business, you're like the stake of what the business mean is a bit higher than what it is normally. And then I then move into details to note for you to meet your funders. I just want to rush through this a bit. I was saying you need to have a fundraising strategy plan. You need to have for not for profit, you need to have your own organization theory of change. For profit, you need to have your strategic plan, strategic goals, strategic framework of how you want to achieve certain goals in a couple of years. You need to do long-term, mid-term, and short-term goals. You know, who are the ones you want to meet now? Your value proposition, I've spoken about that. What's your income structure in the first 2, 3, 4 years of your business? How do you implement it? What are the key impact indicators that help you in ensuring? Now, maybe I'll speak a bit for profit even for both, not for profit and for profit. Your finances is very important. You need to have what we call financial intelligence. You need to be able to plan financially. You need to have financial literacy and even budgeting. Now, somebody used to say that most of us in Nigeria, we have bad math teacher when we're in school. So we had sort of like what we call math PTSD. You know, when you see numbers, you just sort of like shut down. But for a business owner, a business founder, you cannot have math PTSD. You have to find a way to get over your past PTSD because you need to be able to read your numbers. You need to be able to understand when there's problem. You know, it's supposed to be on the slide here, but it's not here. Cash is king. You need to be able to understand how cash is because there's a way as a startup you can have you can have sold businesses, but you don't have cash. Like you have money outside. You know, some of your customers come in, they pick your product, they don't pay, they pay twice or 3 times. So you could have sold 50 million naira worth of goods, but inside your pocket you have 10 million naira. And you need to be able to also buy from your suppliers. If you're making something, buy suppliers, make the product, pay salaries. So you need to have that financial intelligence to understand what it is you need to understand budgeting. How do you keep your records? Because book record and keeping is good. You need to have for as you grow, you need governance and reporting, you know, management reporting, board, the trustee, advisors. If you're a startup and you're growing and you need corporate governance in terms of like a board, I advise you to start an advisory board that would really not require you to pay because people pay for board members. You need to have the regulatory requirements, FRSC, LRS, it's common for NGOs, and you need to have an audited statement. That's required basically every time because all these things also help you in raising funds. Any funder that wants to give you money would be happy to see that yes, you keep your records, you have an advisory board. An advisory board even gives you pass mark with some funders because they trust that there's a level of governance and reporting that is due. You know, you have the regulatory requirements, some audited statements even just shows that you're accountable. And sustainability is very key. Sustainability is key. Everybody wants to know that if they fund you, they support you, that your business, one, your business is not the funding they want to give you is not what will keep your business alive. Even if it is, find a way to communicate that it is not. Two, they want to know that if they give you funding and they don't give you funding the next time, you will still continue to live and succeed. And because of time, because I also want to be able to I sort of like went through funding options, you know, grants, and I talked about innovating with them. I literally talked about all these, you know, somebody I talked about crowdfunding platforms, pay for success financing, impact linked, where you get funding that, you know, you link or emphasize with performance and efficiency. You know, people are now, social media has enabled us to do crowdfunding more and more to create that sense of grant. There's individual donations. You know, you can now have donor advice funds where donors offer, like, they have a bit of control over it, and increase them. They give you funding, or they tell you what you should do with the funding. You could approach people to do that. The subscription model where people pay, like, sort of like give you a part of their income every monthly, individuals for sustainability. There's the gamification aspect of individual funding, where you try like gamify them. They see, especially for younger people, they see some level of growth to go alongside with it. There's corporate sponsorship, and I spoke about that a lot, where you align with the corporate social, like the corporate example I gave. There's impact investment, where you seek investment from corporations, and these are sort of like a bit different. I did this a bit different from what had been done in presentation by mentees. Value partnerships, when you collaborate together with an organization to create value. And then there's end income, NGOs or for profit. You have to find a way to make money for your own self. You have a product that sells. Even in a for-profit organization, there's something you can always leverage on pay that can be paid for that you have. There are investment platform, impact investment platforms. There are data-driven revenue models that you can also look at. There are contracts from government, private, public-private partnerships that literally can help you. There are social impact bonds that are only given when you meet like a particular one. So even if it's for-profit organization, you can always look at what impact your business gives or the social impact of it, or that can then help you in getting the things you want to get. And that will be all from me with this nice slide to say you need to stay sustainable. You need financial intelligence to stay sustainable. Yeah, I think I've spoken about most of this, and I'll just stop here because of time. Thank you very much. I'll take questions at the end if I'm still around and I don't have to go meet the doctor again. But I'm very ready. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Olabi, for a wonderful presentation. We really did enjoy your discourse, and it was really, really insightful. And I hope our mentees as well really enjoyed your presentation. We have one last mentor before we go to presentations from mentees. Mr. Max, I can see you're already on the call. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. Please, I would also like to hear from you in the next few minutes, just your take on today's topic and how best we can go around raising funds for startups and generally business.
Okay, thank you, Dennis, and good afternoon to everyone. And let me particularly commend the two mentors who have gone before me, Rafiat and Olabi, for a really wonderful job. I believe with the kind of powerful foundation they have laid, I don't need to say much anymore, and I would actually keep my comments very brief so that we can actually spend some time to also listen to the presentations from the mentees. So with all that Rafiat and Olabi have said, I believe they have comprehensively covered the field. All I'll do is just to sound one note of warning, which is something that I see as a lawyer, with startups, in the fundraising phase. More often than not, because startups are trying to raise funds, they usually are placed in a vulnerable situation with respect to the people they are seeking funding from. And I would particularly single out angel investors. You have to be careful. I think it was Rafiat's presentation. She really took her time to do some definitions of what an angel investor is, or was it Olabi? I can't remember which of them. But what I just want to say is that just be careful. In as much as we have angel investors, we also have demon investors. People who would come in and look like they came, they are there to help, but ultimately end up becoming an albatross on your neck. So you have to really be careful, in your, at that fundraising level. One of the things I'll talk about, which is what all my talk will be about, is essentially what we call an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. Please, when you go about fundraising, that is one document you must have. An NDA, that's a non-disclosure agreement, is a simple contract that states that information you reveal or release to another person is to be held by that person confidential, and that person is not permitted to use that information for its own purpose or to, in a sense, disclose it to third parties, by way of selling it to third parties. Why this is important is because, like Rafiat and Owolabi already mentioned to you, when you go for fundraising, of course, you have to pitch. And pitching means that you have to essentially put out your idea. You have to persuade the funders that your business model, can scale, that it will work, it will be profitable, and all of that. So in doing that, it means you have to give them some of the, details, of the intimate details of how your business is going to essentially, or your product or service would essentially scale and be profitable. So it means you're essentially giving them the full working of what you are doing. So if there's no restraint or control on them, then it means that they can go around and say, instead of giving you money to do it, why don't they themselves go ahead and do it themselves? Or they pass on that information to a third party who sets up, maybe that third party already has access to money and it sets up a competing idea or business model to your own. And because he already has money, you don't have money. Of course, he beats you hands down and you're out of the market. So that is why you must always ensure that you get an NDA signed between you and the funders before you begin to reveal the deep details of what your business model is all about. Of course, practical problem that arises is that because you are more often than not the one who is seeking a favor or seeking to get their time to pitch to them and all of that, you may almost more often than not have that luxury. In fact, sometimes some funders actually think it an insult for the person who is coming to beg them for funding to now be saying, "Oh, Elga, we have to sign an agreement before I pitch to you." And the person is like, "Well, you are the one who pleaded to come and pitch to me. I didn't ask you to come and pitch to me. So why will you start telling me to sign the document before I pitch to you?" And it could easily tell you to go to hell. So that happens practically. I mean, I've been involved in the case 2014, end of December 2014, where a client then was trying to develop a payment solution that was quite innovative. Of course, it didn't have a license and all that. So we decided to meet one of the people who then were some of the pioneers who are the first set of MMO, that's mobile money, like partner with them, and then use their infrastructure of the payment solution, run it on it, and we will agree a system where we would also go for our license. But in return, because we didn't have money to pay them for a listing or running on the back of their infrastructure, we agreed we would have given them equity, in our own business. But like I said, the typical scenario was that these guys were already owned the mobile money license. At that time, certainly they had some good money under their belt. We had nothing. So by the time we tried to ask them to sign an NDA, exactly what I told you was happening. And I was like, well, what do you mean by that? You are the ones coming to look for us and hassle us for to pitch your ideas to us. In fact, we met them at a social club, at a club in Lagos, not like a nightclub now, but like a social club in Lagos, in the clubhouse of that social club. And they're like, look, all we have is about 15 to 20 minutes. If you want to pitch. But if you want to sign an agreement, well, talk to our lawyers maybe in the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Anytime we can find time, we will talk with you. Of course, my client was under a lot of pressure. This was his one opportunity to quickly speak to these people. So he didn't have that luxury of saying, let's go. And our fear was that we had chased them for like 2 to 3 weeks. So the fear was, if we miss this opportunity, who knows when next we would get, the opportunity to pitch to them again. So we had no option but to just go ahead and, my client did that pitch. Thankfully, it didn't end up in anything bad. I mean, the guys didn't mess us up and all of that. But I'm just telling you practically, this is how many times we end up having to make a pitch without having the time to sign an NDA and all of that. So part of what you can do to protect yourself in such situations where your potential fund or angel investor, or hopefully not a demon investor, doesn't have the time or refuses to sign an NDA, that you can use other communication to show clearly. So a simple email. Thank you again very much for agreeing to see me on Monday, the 14th of April 2025. As discussed earlier, I'm hoping to pitch to you my idea to fund my XYZ business and all that. So that way, even if there's no signed NDA, you have some documentary evidence to show that indeed on so and such a date you pitched an idea to the person. Part of what I encourage at times is that you may also, after the pitch event, like what I did with my client in 2014, was that after the pitch event, you now send them an email thanking them for listening to our pitch, attaching our pitch document and some of the supporting documents, and saying those documents we discussed during our pitch, here are they attached. So that way, if the person 2 or 3 years down the line steals your business model, your business idea, and all of that, you have some evidence to show, including your pitch documents and all that you attach to that email and you send, to them. So that gives some level. I mean, of course, it's not the ideal. The ideal is to sign a non-disclosure agreement, but if you do not, then that's the next best. And this thing is a real world problem. And I wrap up on this. So there's a practical case of a bank. I mean, I think it's, when it used to be Oceanic Bank before it became Eco Bank, some guys approached them and pitched them an idea, sort of a savings scheme idea, how to create a savings scheme and all that. Pitched the idea to the bank, and the bank said, "We are not interested." These guys left, and 6 months down the line, they saw billboards spring up where the same bank was advertising that same model, and of course, it became an argument. These guys had no agreement in place, so it became difficult to, to be able to show that truly they were the ones who pitched this idea to the bank. So it's a real issue. So please, if you're advising a startup, what you must always do is to always have an NDA template ready. So if you just call you and say somebody says he wants us to come and pitch tomorrow, you're able to immediately dust up, impute the names and address of the parties, make a few adjustments, and in 30 minutes to an hour, you are ready to send off that NDA for it to be signed. But like I said, sometimes you may not be able to get the NDA signed. You can use the innovative approach of doing an email before, doing an email after, attaching all the documents. Those are some and your clients. So I'll end on that note. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, sir,
Dennis,
we
I hope
can
you can
hear you. Yes, sir, we can hear
Okay,
you.
so I'll end on that note so we can listen to the presentation from the mentees.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Max, for your thoughts and your shares. I hope for the mentees we're able to pick up on everything. It has just been, yes, we'll be getting to questions a little bit later, right? So, Mr. Luadamlo, like we'll take questions later on. All right, so please, for the presenters in today's class, please can we kindly take presentations? Group one, if you're ready, we're ready for you. Let's have your presentation as quick as possible.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Precious Ali from Group 1, and I would be presenting my group work. The title of our presentation is Fundraising for Startups. And our table of content includes our introduction, our venture capital funding, angel investors, crowdfunding, bootstrapping, accelerators and incubators, and conclusion. So fundraising is a critical process for startups. It's basically saying where funders are giving support in terms of finances, mentorships, partnership for startups in order for them to grow and develop their business. But then navigating the fundraising landscape can be complex, and there are different things we have to look at in navigating the fundraising space. So venture capital is a form of private equity and a type of financing. So what venture capital is, it's a type of capital that is for a particular startup. And there are various stages in the startup. We have the pre-seed, we have the seed funding, we have startup capital, early stage funding, expansion capital. So pre-seed is the stage whereby the business just has an idea and doesn't really have an operating company. So there's just like an idea, business plan, but company or the startup is not in operation. So basically and in this stage, you hardly would find venture capitalists fund into that business because, like I said, it's just an idea. So the seed funding stage is a
Hello, Precious. We can't hear you anymore. Hello, Precious. Are you with us? We can't hear you. Okay, it seems our presenter has some network challenges. We hope that she joins us soon. Please, I would like to kindly ask that group. So please, you can just be on standby. If after a few minutes she's unable to join back in, we'll be moving on with your presentation. And then when she rejoins, we will be taking, we'll continue with hers. Okay, it seems she's no longer on the call. So while we wait for her to join back in, what we'll do is that we'll take presentation from group 2. Or are you back with us, Precious?
Hello, please, can you hear me? I noticed the network pushed me out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you are back with us. Please, you can continue.
Okay, please, where did I stop?
I think in the previous slide. Yes.
This slide.
Yeah, you were talking about pre-seed within that space.
Okay. So, like I was saying before, we have the pre-seed. Let me just go back. So we have the pre-seed stage. That's like the earliest stage where they have the ideas and they've not really developed a particular business. So they just have their business model and all of that. Then the seed funding stage is the point where they will launch their products, the MVP, and venture capitalists will not really fund at that stage because it's still growing. Then we have the startup capital. At this stage, the company has a sample, they're operating, they have a team, they have teams and they are pros in their teams. They'll be able to get one or two resources and support from people around them. We have the early stage funding. So the business has grown at this stage and they want to move into a new market. So in a way, they're already pros in their market and they just want to venture into another market. And we have the expansion capital. So they are well established. And it's just like an upgrade of the early stage funding. And in this kind of stage, just to say it's easier to get people, venture capitalists, and crowdfund is easier to get them to fund the business or startup at that period. So we have the strategies for attracting VC investors. Number one is market validation. So market validation is just saying that you have to validate your market. You have to know what your market is really about. You have to know the problem you want to solve. You have to know the solutions you are bringing to solve this problem. And you have to know how you are going to go about it. So it is very important that if you're going to meet a VC, that you have a good market validation and you have to be able to tell them very much, okay, this is my this is the business plan and this is what we are going to. So you know the VC perspective. So generally, VCs they have their niche. So imagine a VC who is more into agri products. or then you go and pitch something as regards oil and gas. It doesn't really work out well. Or a VC that is into fintech and you're pitching something in a different area. So you have to know the details of the VCs because they do their market survey too. So you have to know what exactly it is they're interested in for you to know who you're going to meet. So you have to refine your pitch. Your pitch has to be concise. It shouldn't be big. And your pitch should be visual because you're going to pitch to people and you want to, human beings are emotional beings. So you want to be able to move them to understand that you understand what you're saying and you have a very good idea of what you're saying. But beyond that, you can actually you can do as you say. So you want to know your pitch very well. You want to refine your pitch. You want your pitch not to look distorted and they will be confused about it. Then networking. So another ways you can attract VCs is you go to these events. You attend industry events, you attend industry meeting, and you connect with these people. You go for workshops in this and you network with them, get to know them. But you have a strong business plan. So your business plan should show your revenue projection. It should show what exactly it is you want to do, what makes you different, what are the solutions you are bringing, what are your goals in so and so years, what exactly it is you've done so far, and what exactly it is you need their support, the support you need from them. Your team is very important because the team is the hands and legs of the business. The startup is not going to work on its own. It's abstract. So the team is the one doing the work. So if you have a strong team, it will propel VCs to want to contribute to your business or your startup. So your team has to be strategically picked. If your startup is as regards an industry, your team should be experts or people who are well known that know well about the industry. You can't pick a team from that doesn't really know anything about coding and you want to create a software or something. It doesn't work like that. So your team is very important. Then tip here is choose investors that align with your vision and offer more than funding. Like I mentioned before, when seeking assistance beyond just funding, it's kind of a support. So it can be a mentorship, can be a partnership. So you want to see look for investors who are passionate or who would be passionate about what you are doing after you convince them. The investors who are dispassionate and they don't really care. So what are the pros and cons of raising capital? So now the pros of raising capital for venture capitalists is you have large funds. So it's not like a situation where you're trying to create a new business and you have limited funds. So you have the fund for whatever it is you're doing. And another thing is that it helps to reduce low repayment. So generally, rather than you going to banks to collect huge amount of money, which would yield a lot of interest later on, you can meet a VC and they will give you the fund. So you would not be, there's no pressure that you have to pay that particular loan. So it enables the investments in product development. It provides strategic guidance, networking, and credibility. So now VCs do beyond just funding your project. They also give create a space for networking and partnership. So rather than just giving just funds, they can introduce you to one or two people who are also interested in your project that would also fund the project or even create a space, push it to an international platform. And the credibility of it is that if you show that, oh, I have partnered with so and so big people, other people would want to partner with you or want to do. So if you're pitching your ideas to someone else and you're like, oh, yes, I partner with these people, they help us in this, they are more moved to want to help you because they know that these people have of reputable people and they have reputations in so and so area. So they know how serious it is you are in what you're doing. So you also attract further investment and opportunities. So the cons of raising venture capital is the loss of equity and partial control. So equity is just shares in a company. Many times, venture capitalists will ask that they be given certain number of shares in the company for them giving you the funds you need. In other words, you are using or you are giving out a bit of the equity in the company to them. And if the venture capitalist is one who wants to control, have major control in the company, it might be an issue if they are telling you to do something that is against the business ideas and visions of the company. So there's the pressure for rapid growth and high returns. So there's a pressure that because they are putting their money into it, So they may be thinking, oh, within 5 years, I want to be able to have yield so and real returns. And you might be thinking, oh, our plan is within 10 years. So because they have like a kind of control, they put a pressure, like a lot of pressure on you, and you do things that rather than growing a business that has sustainability, you just want to meet their demands. So high expectations can lead to burnout. So that's like just part of the pressure and rapid growth. So finding angel investors. How do you find angel investors? Angel investors play a critical role in the early stage startup funding. They're typically high net worth individuals that provide capital in exchange for equity. We're just saying that these are people that have large amount of money and they can give you the money for your startup. So many a times they give you the money, then you give them equity, which I already said is shares. So often at the pre-seed or seed stage, when venture capital funding may not yet be accessible. So now the angel investors, they come before, in a way, they help at the pre-seed and seed stage. That's like the idea stage where you've not really built a business that venture capitalists will be interested in. So how do you find angel investors? Find the right angel investors involves like outreach. So there are angel investors networks and platforms. We have the Angel Lead, Seed Invest, FCS. We have local angel group like the Lagos Angel Network. We have incubators and accelerators that connect you to these angel investors, like Tony Foundations. They just connect you to those people. We have professional and social network, that's LinkedIn, industry events, workshops, conferences, where these people gather, and if you're among them, you're able to network and create some strategic partnerships. We have university alumni networks. So I know that universities always create these competitions or hackathons and some other prizes where they allow people come, they pitch their ideas and they tell them, okay, these are the things you need to change. These are the strategies, the market you are trying to go to. These are the things you're going to expect based on their experience. Pitching and negotiating. Pitching to angel investors. How do you actually pitch to angel investors? You don't just pitch. You don't just pitch anyhow. There are ways that you pitch to get their attention. So first of all, you have to state your problems. You have to know clearly what problem it is you're solving. Then you have to state the solution to the problem. You don't just state your problem and you don't bring the solution. What exactly it is you are going to, what is the solution to it? How do you want to get about it? Then what's your market opportunity? You have to know your market. Is your market as regards, are you marketing to a particular gender or a particular age group? Or you're going to the urban area, rural area, a particular sector? Is it oil and gas? Is it fintech? Where exactly is your market? What are your traction and milestone? What has your achievement been so far? What are the partnership you've gotten so far? Who have you been able to talk to and okay, I'm going to give you support in these areas? So you have to have achievements, you have to have traction. If it's a situation whereby you've created a business before or a startup before, and you did not do so well, but you've done something, you can show them that, okay, this was what I have done before in this particular area, and this was where we've gotten to, and this was what unfortunately don't make it cool like this. So those things speak for you. So your business model. Now you have to have clear revenue strategy, because in every business you want to bring in revenue. You're not just, except if you're doing something for like non-profit, you're bringing in revenue. So how do you want to bring revenue into the company or into the startup? So what's your team strength? Like I said before, you have to pick the right people. Your team has to comprise of the right set of people. Who is your legal advisor? Who are the people that will be in charge of your marketing? Who are people right in charge of your coding, writing codes and all that? And the acts. So the acts is, what the investor, what exactly it is they are getting. Are you offering them equity? Are you offering them convertible debt? At the stage, you necessarily don't have to offer them equity. You can offer them something like a safe, which is generally saying that we're going to offer you equity later on once the business has grown to a particular stage. So your pitch should not be more than 10 to 12 slides and under 10 minutes. So you should be able to memorize your pitch over and over and know how to say it very well and convincingly. Negotiating with major investor, it's also important that you have to understand that these people are also people. who most likely are giving you one support of the other. So they would ask one or two things that might not so sit well with you. So you have to also know how to negotiate with them in a way that you're protecting your business, but you're also making it attractive for them to want to believe in you. So valuation, know your market very well, have market data, have your facts, have everything. So if they tell you that we are so conversant with this market and this is not how it is, you tell them no, based on this particular fact and valuation, similar industries have done so and this is what we are bringing. So you let them understand that you know the value of the company, the startup you're building, so they don't trample on you. So equity and convertible notes, like I said before, do you want to give them shares? Do you want to wait till later? Those are things that you have to negotiate. What are their rights? You have to know what their rights is. Do they want to be in the board seat? Do they want to have preferential shares when it comes to liquidation? That is if by chance the company doesn't succeed and they want their company to be given so on. Do they want a particular set of growth rate and all of that? So what are your milestones? You have to negotiate the milestones. What are the clear benches? So exit strategy, you have to know, okay, at the end of the day, are we going public? Do we want our company to be acquired? Is there going to be an acquisition, major acquisition, IPO? And the legal counsel, always try to work with the legal counsel as much. It's very important that you work with legal counsel that knows about startup and how to read documentation, so they'll be able to know the tricky places. In that way, they'll be able to save you from signing a contract that is going to put you at the mercy of the venture capitalist. So at the angel investor. Crowdfunding. So crowdfunding refers to raising small amounts of money from a large number of individuals. So it's like you can just go on social media or there are some crowdfunding platforms where you tell this is your goal and this is what exactly you want, and a large number of people just put bits and bits of money together and you're able to get the funds for your startup or business. And we have some crowdfunding platforms there. We have Nigeria Fund, we have Crowdvest, we have Donate NG, FINC, NG Investment Network, Alumni, you're right. We also have international platforms like Kickstarter, Fonda, Beam, Crowdcube, Seedinvest, GoFundMe, Mchanga, and all of that. So what are the steps for running a successful crowdfunding campaign? What are the things you do for your crowdfunding to actually campaign to bring value at the end of the day? You have to clearly define your value proposition. What exactly makes your business unique? What are you doing? What solution are you bringing? Then you select the right crowdfunding platforms. Not all crowdfunding platforms might be for the particular startup you want to create. So if you're going for a startup that is more into NGOs, a platform that is more into NGOs, and you're going there to go and pitch about a business or a startup that is not into that, it might backfire and not work well for you. So you build an early support network, you engage the local fintech communities and industry stakeholders. So you develop high quality promotional content, like you explain videos, you send out ads or pictures, you make use of social media. You have to, like I said, using visuals to pitch your ideas is very good. So you have to develop that. Then you offer attractive incentives. You offer attractive incentives to the people that would support through the crowdfunding platform, and you leverage influencers and community engagement. Leverage influencers would actually it's also a way of showing your kind of interest and how much you believe in what you're doing, and for them to fund your startup. So crowdfunding is an easily popular method for Nigerians, but it's also important that you have to take into legal consideration that things that you have to do legally and all of that. So what's bootstrapping? So unlike venture capital, where you're just getting funds from individuals, investors, companies, people, like the big people that are going to give you the funds. Bootstrapping is like you saying, I don't want to allow, I don't want somebody to put money into my business and later have control over it, or I don't want somebody to put money into my business and I'm getting discomfort and they're telling me this is how they want it to be done. It might not always go that way, but bootstrapping is just saying, I want to use my funds to build my startup. or I want to get funds for family and friends. These are people that they would give without asking in return in any way. That's what bootstrapping really is. So what are the key strategies for bootstrapping in fintech? So you can launch with an MVP, that's minimum viable product. So an MVP is like a product to sell, but it's just like a small subset of the major products. So you can start with that. You can, since you are using like your finances and you might not have such a big finances, so you can start small. You can start with an MVP that will, maybe if you have like a fintech platform, would get you like 1,000 users to would operate very well with 1,000 users till you want to move. Then you leverage open source tools rather than you writing the code from the scratch and say, oh, I want everything to be me and everything must be genuine. And you don't have the fund, just go for open source, leverage on open source, you can make your code or your software and everything based on whatever others has done. Then you track your expenses meticulously. So there's this Pareto principle that says that 80% of the results is gotten from 20% of workload. So it's just basically saying what brings more revenue or what brings more results. What brings the maximum results might just be from 20% of the effort. So we're saying now in simple terms that 20% of customers is the one that brings 80% of revenue, or 20% of workers are the people that bring 80% of productivity. So you to track expenses, cut anything that's not needed. Strategies for minimizing revenue without external funding. So you focus on customer retention. The customers you've had so far, your fintech app cannot take too many customers, right? It's a freeze and all of that. So the customers you have so far, focus on them. Look for ways that you can make customers stay. What are incentives that you can give, whatever it is that would attract your customers. It's also good to look for more customers, but focus on retaining more your customers and looking for more customers. Then utilize freemium models. Like, people like free things, well, Nigerians mostly feel you like free things, so you can look for free things. I remember when OP and PamPay started, they made use of quite a number of free things. You register and they give you so and so credit or data. Then you buy data and you get so and so. So you make use of free things. They were giving out I think earpiece and the like. They come to universities and give out free. So you can make use of that. So you networking and community building. So you engage local startup communities and industry events. Go to these communities that they speak the same language as you as regards your startup, what exactly it is. You're in the same space. So you go there, you network there, and you build community. Adopt a lean business model. Whatever it is that is not necessary, cut it. If you do not have the money for some sort of permanent staff like that, just look for freelancers. Whatever it is that would cut that's not needed, just cut it. Strategic hiring. You have to bring in the right team members that would bring in maximum value. Do not bring team members that would take money, cost, and would not bring in value to your business. So when bootstrapping is appropriate for fintech startups, bootstrapping is appropriate in early stages. Now, this is the stage where you have limited funds, you just have ideas, you have the passion to push, you've not really done something like that. We have organic growth when the company plans that, okay, I want a sustainable growth. Remember, I mentioned that one of the cons of venture capital is the fact that it might put a lot of pressure into you. So instead of you focusing on like a sustainable growth, you just want to do things fast. So it's also very appropriate if you feel like at this stage we want to have a sustainable growth. Let's go for bootstrapping. Then we have control. If the founders want to have control and you don't want a VC telling you, I want so and so shares and I want to be the one to be able to give maximum control of the company, just go for bootstrapping. It allows you to have full control of your business and you want to be viable products before scaling. Now, startup incubators and accelerators. Startup incubators, these are people that they nurture at the early stage. So they help develop their business models. So basically, I just tell them, okay, this is my idea. This is the idea I have. And they will look into your idea and they will tell you, okay, this is ways that you can refine your idea to make it better. And these are things that you should or shouldn't do. So you have a business model and they will help you with it. Example of startup incubators, we have the Y Combinator, Google for startup incubator, university-based incubators. We have some of that, competitions and all of that. So characteristics for startup incubator. We're focusing on startups in the ideas phase, the phase where you've not really had anything, you've not really had a prototype at all. So it's just idea. Sorry, you've not had an MVP. It's just an idea that you have. It has no strict time frame. So for the accelerators, they have like this 3 months time frame. For incubators, they can take for years. It's mostly like a government, sometimes non-profit organization or government owned. So what they are doing right at that moment is they want to help people. Imagine a situation where there are some women, an NGO that is for support of women, and they tell women to come with their ideas. So they tell them their ideas and they help you with it. So they can work with you like for like 3 years. So they provide mentorship. They work along with you. They provide mentorship for you. They would tell you this is the step you have to take. They provide strategic partnership. They even go as much as giving you spaces to work if you don't have the spaces, helping you with your experiment if it's needed. So that's what incubators do. Like I said, mostly funded by government, university, non-profit organization. So now there's incubators and there's accelerators. What differs is that the accelerators, they are intensive, they are fixed. What they are doing is scaling, accelerating, like the word says, accelerator. They just want to accelerate your business. So you're not coming in with an idea. You're not coming in with you not being so sure, you've not done your market survey. You are coming in with something that is okay. It's worth accelerating. Examples are Y Combinator, Techstart, 500 Startups, Seedcount, Plug and Play Center. So characteristics of startup accelerators. They are short term, 6 to 3 months. They have a fixed period. They are not going to stay with you like incubators for a long time. They provide seed funding. We're looking $10 to $15 for the seed funding. They offer mentorship. So they mentor you, they network you with other people. I mean, they go as far as even creating networking with business partners, future business, potential business partners. So we have quad-based model. So now the quad-based is like these accelerators, they tell you they do their acceleration stage by stage. So they work with this particular quads. They will use class today, they work on another class later on, and that's another the benefit. You're able to network with your class and your quad. So startup pitch their business to investors during demo day, and they focus on scaling because they want your business to accelerate or your startup. The difference between startup and accelerators and incubators. So accelerators, they're for later stage. That is after you've gone through incubation process and you've already built something that's what's accelerating. So they want to scale. They're not going for you to start. Their goal is for them to accelerate as fast as they can. So they have completion timeline, strict completion timeline, 3 to 6 months. They come at the post-funding stage. That's where they come. They don't come at the pre-funding stage. They focus on making startup investors ready, and they involve taking equity. So they would take equity. Unlike incubators that may not really take equity, they might want to take so shares from your company. So incubators they are for early stage startups. They involve mentorship and training. Mostly incubators they are less about funding and more about mentorship and training. Doesn't mean they don't fund, but it's more about mentorship and training. No strict completion timeline, they will go with you. So they come at the pre-funding stage. They focus on your sustaining and developing. So focus on you actually having something to work with and how it is going to be sustained. And they usually do not require you to have like shares in your company. So the role of incubators and accelerators in fintech. For that, you're going to have access to funding. Accelerators will give you access to funding the amount you want. Investors network. So you're able to connect with investors and other venture capitalists that will help you. Enhance credibility. You'll be accepted into the program, and you're saying that, okay, I went through this so training. I was able to meet so people. I was able to partner so people would speak for you when you are pitching. Their mentorship and guidance, and they would start up get strategic business and fundraising ideas. So now the research, how to apply and get into these programs. You have to make your research. You have to find programs that match your startup stage. You have to be very careful that you're not at the incubation stage and you're going to an acceleration. You're going for an acceleration program. You have to be sure that you are not taking one for 2 and 2 for 1. Then you have to perfect your pitch. You have to have a compiling problem-solving solution story. Concise, short, not vague, compelling. Rehearse it over and over again. Know it word by word. Know what you are doing. Practice whatever questions you're going to ask. So it shows traction. show what exactly it is you have done based on your ideas. What research have you done? Who have you reached out to? What team have you started to create? You like your team. Your team is very important because the team of people might as well just make the investors want to fund. So what are the benefits of incubators and accelerators? The benefit is that it help in product development. They help you to develop a product. They help to do your experiment. Like I mentioned before, incubators go as far as even helping you doing your market experiments. Legal consultation, they can help to help you with your legal consultation and help you to ensure that you do not fall for tricks, and you have shared workspace, networking, then you do not have limited funding. So accelerators help startups scale quickly through structured programs. Okay, that's what. So in conclusion, fundraising is a crucial aspect of startup journey, providing the capital needed to develop products. Startups they have multiple funding options, which is bootstrapping, like you mentioned, venture capital, angel investor, crowdfunding, support from incubators, accelerators, and any of this you can make use of them depending on the circumstance or the sector you are at that moment. So while venture capitalists and accelerators offer rapid opportunities, they will require that you give them a part of your equity and control sometimes. But on the other hand, bootstrapping and allows you to have full control of your business. So ultimately, the best funding approach depends on the startup goals, stage, and industry. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Precious, for your presentation. The presentation was quite lengthy, but it was okay. So thank you once again, Precious, and to the group members that prepared the slides. Okay, we'll be taking group two's presentation. Please, let's have that as quick as possible. And also, please, if we can, let's speed up the presentation and ensure it stays within 10 minutes. Thank you. Hello, Sonia. Please, we can see you. Please, you can go ahead and start the presentation.
Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Sonia Jiipcc. I'm the group presenter for Group 2. Today, I'll be discussing fundraising for startups, especially within the fintech space. This topic is important because while many startups have brilliant ideas, funding is often what determines whether those ideas can be scaled successfully. So in this presentation, I will cover several key areas. We'll start by looking at grants and government funding, then explore debt financing and move on to strategic partnership. I'll also touch on how to effectively pitch to investors. And finally, we'll go over what due diligence involves and how startups can prepare for it. Let's begin with grants and government support. There are great options because they typically do not require giving up equity. One of the most accessible is the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, which offers up to 5 million naira for qualified Lagos-based startups. We also have the Google for Startups Accelerator Africa. This program provides equity-free support, meaning that you don't lose ownership and includes mentorship and technical guidance. The BOI Youth Entrepreneurship Support Program offers up to 10 million naira in loans for young entrepreneurs, along with business training. And lastly, the Y Combinator, although international, has invested in many Nigerian startups, offering seed funding up to $500,000 and access to a global network of mentors and investors. Beyond these, there are also Seedstar Africa Ventures, which invests up to 500,000 early stage startups, especially those in fintech and IT. The NITDA Startups Fund, which provides financial support and training for innovation-focused startups. The Nigeria Startup Arts Fund, that's an annual 10 million billion fund that also includes partnerships like the 40 million JICA and NSIA co-funding, and Greenhouse Capital, which focuses specifically on high potential African fintech startups. All these show the increasing interest and commitment to supporting startups across the continent. To assess these funding opportunities, startups must meet certain eligibility requirements. This includes having a clear product and business model, and also being legally registered and having relevant documentation. That's like a solid business plan. In terms of the process, yeah, you typically start by developing that business plan, then identifying the right funders. From there, you prepare a pitch deck, reach out to potential investors or providers, then attend meetings, and if it's successful, you will go through due diligence before finalizing terms. Before being thorough and professional at every stage significantly increases your chances. Please, can you still see my slide? Okay. But without giving up the ownership. Common options include term loans, which are lump sums paid back over a fixed period. Lines of credit, which allows flexible borrowing as needed. Convertible debts, which can later be converted to equity. We also have the venture debt, which is higher risk debt offered to growing startups. Then they have the warehouse facilities and asset-backed loans, often used by often used by fintech companies involved in lending and merchant cash advances where funding is repaid from future sales. This debt financing is attractive because it lets founders maintain control. However, it also comes with some risk, like pressure from interest payments and the need for collateral. What is now the implication of taking on debt? The main benefit of debt is that it avoids ownership dilution. So founders retain full control. It also offers predictable repayment structures and can be quicker than equity funding. On the other hand, the burden of repayment, especially for early stage businesses, can strain cash flow. Defaulting may also damage your credit and reputation. So while debt is useful, it requires careful financial planning and strong revenue potential to maintain repayment. So moving on to the next slide. Here we'll be talking about strategic partnership and corporate investments. Startups can also raise funding or grow faster through strategic partnerships or corporate investments. And to attract these kinds of opportunities, a startup needs to clearly demonstrate strong growth potential, a viable and innovative business model, a capable team, and then evidence of traction, like customers' growth or revenue. This kind of collaboration often involves combining resources or distribution networks for mutual benefits. Some real-world examples include Spotify's integration with Uber and LinkedIn's partnership with HubSpot. These partnerships created value for both sides by aligning strengths. Here, we're going to be talking about pitching and presenting. Pitching is one of the most critical stages in fundraising. A strong pitch should be concise, should be engaging, and tailored to your audience. You should begin with a compelling opening. Identify the problem you are solving, and then you clearly explain your unique solution. Investors also want to see your market opportunity, your revenue model, your growth traction, your go-to-market strategy, and financial projections. Beyond the content, your slides should be visually clear and professional. Practice is key. So rehearse your delivery, anticipate questions, and refine as needed. And then after your pitch, if investors are interested, they will carry out a due diligence process to verify everything you've presented. This typically includes reviewing your business plan, your financials and projections, requesting access to sensitive documents via a data room, conducting interviews with the founding team, running background checks, and then analyzing your legal and regulatory compliance. This process helps investors assess risks and make informed decisions. However, to prepare for due diligence, startups should organize all financial statements and legal documents. They should as well update financials and ensure their accuracy. It is also important to note that they should review contracts for compliance. They should prepare the team to answer detailed questions and as well seek guidance from lawyers or financial professionals where necessary. Being well prepared for this stage not only speeds up the process, but it also demonstrates that the startup is responsible and investment ready. In conclusion, as Nigeria's economy continues to embrace digital transformation, the fintech sector has seen impressive growth, raising nearly $1 billion in 2022 alone. This momentum has been driven by increased adoption of digital financial services, strong entrepreneurship, and evolving government support. With various funding options available, from grants and debt to partnerships, startups now have more opportunities than ever to secure the capital they need to grow. However, success in fundraising comes from being well prepared. It comes from being strategic and persistent. This presentation was developed by FinTech Group 2, and I would like to acknowledge every team member listed here. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
All right, thank you very much, Sonia, for a wonderful presentation from you. We sincerely do appreciate the effort your group puts into the work, and also to Group 1, well done to both groups. So I think we've taken quite a lot of time in today's class, and we are supposed to take feedback from the mentors, but just to cut down on time, what we'll be doing is that we'll be taking questions alongside feedback from the mentors. So please, if you have a question in class, please can you kindly indicate by raise of hands, right? Raise of hands. Okay, Mr. Oluwadamilola, please can we have more other people indicate also, so that we'll take questions, and as we throw the questions to the mentors, we'll also ask them for their feedback. So Mr. Oluwadamilola, please, you can unmute and ask your questions.
All right. Hello, good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your wonderful presentation. All right then. So my first question is to Mr. Owo. Okay, he's no longer on the call. Oh wow. Okay. I wanted to ask the guy with what's it called? The guy with the animated what's it called? The animated face, but he's no longer on the call. But I'll just ask my questions to the other mentors. So in terms of, because he spoke on board advisory, and and then he raised a very key point, which was how in place of having to hire a full-on board, you could just hire people to like advise your board, that sort of thing. And I have questions as to what do you look out for when you're hiring people to be on your board advisory? Because I mean, if it's just looking out for general experience or specialization and all those things, I mean, in my experience, generally, the more experienced the person is, the more stellar their curriculum vitae is, the more expensive they end up being. I mean, even some CEOs and company secretaries, they do cost quite a lot of money, and everyone wants to charge a premium. Because I myself, I hold qualifications as a company secretary, so I've seen it play out a few times, especially in terms of hiring people towards being on your board. So if you as a startup person or as a fintech or rather a startup founder thereabout, what are the ideal things you should look at? Do you just look at who's most cost effective, or do you look at people who are slightly educated and then somewhat relatively affordable? Because ultimately what he said was we should run a lean budget, more or less. But these things do add up towards the budget being slightly fat. Yeah, so that's my first question. Then my second question really is in terms of corporate governance. Yeah, okay.
Yes, so we'll do it this way. We would allow one of the mentors take your first question, and then subsequently, as the answer, you take the second question. Is that fine?
Yes, that's fine. Thank you. That's
Oh, all right. So please, I'll first I think Miss Rafiat is still here. So Ma, please, I want to find out if you heard Mr. Damilola's question. Okay, and I don't think she's on the call anymore. Oh, okay. Mr. Max, are you still with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. So please, I want to ask if you have any feedback on that question.
Oh, okay, thank you. It's a very relevant question. It's for a startup, these things are almost always like the chicken and the egg story. You wonder which one comes first. You need money to be able to hire a competent team to also even get a solid advisory board. And unfortunately, you need a solid advisory board on your pitch deck to persuade funders to give money to you. So it becomes a little bit challenging to know exactly how do I set up such a strong team when that strong team needs money. And, and for me to get the money, I need that strong team. So several thoughts come to mind. Number one, a lot of times your core team, you can't attract your core team with money as a startup. You attract your core team with the strength of your idea, with the strength of your leadership as a person. So was the first mentor, Rufiachi, was mentioning the difference between management and leadership and management. So there's a point where, or one easy way I try to define it is that a leadership actually shows the end of the journey, the vision, the exact place you want to get to. The management shows the road that takes you there. So the management does the everyday work of getting you there. The leader does the work of pointing out and showing exactly what that ultimate goal should be. So for your core team, typically you'd have to attract them, through leadership, which will be through showing them the strength of your vision and the promise that it holds, not necessarily through cash. A time comes where, yes, you have to start, you need cash to be able to secure such a solid team. Sometimes, in addition to attracting them through the strength of your vision and the promise that your vision holds, you might want to take some of them on board initially on a part-time basis. So it means you don't have to necessarily pay them immediately at last time. You could also use a vesting agreement essentially to also bring them on board. So vesting is simply a structure that allows you to issue people shares or potential shares in your company, and then they only get to earn those shares as they meet certain commitment requirements. So typically the first commitment requirement to be time. So the standard plain vanilla type vesting agreement is to vest over 4 years with a cliff of 1 year. A cliff of 1 year means that the person must work for 1 full year first. After that 1 full year, the person now owns, so assuming you give the person 10% of the equity in your company to vest evenly over 4 years with a cliff of 1 year. It means that at the end of 1 full year of service to your company, that person now owns 2.5% of the shares of the company. If the person works for the next year, he now owns another 2.5, now makes it 5%. He works fully for the third year, he now owns 7.5, and then by the fourth year, he now owns 10%. So what that does is that it balances commitment with reward. So that, because it's easy enough, you can say you start your company today, you pitch the idea to your core team, you now promise them that, guys, if you join me to get this company up and running, I'll give you 10% of the shares of the company. And then you go immediately to CAC, you register the company, and you give the person the 10% shares. What if after 2 or 3 months he quits on you? He will tell you that he's already owner of the 10% shares. It means that you no longer have that 10% shares to use to attract other team members. So that's why you vest it over time. So vesting simply means that if the person leaves halfway, he will only get half of it. So it means that if he leaves after 2 years, he will only keep 5% of the shares. The remaining 5% comes back to you, which you can now either take on yourself or use to raise funds by selling outrightly, or use to raise other team members by looking for other people who you can give that on a vested basis. So that would be one clever way to raise a core team. But like I said, the foundation is that your core team, including that advisory board, are people you must attract to the strength of your character, the clarity of your vision, the great prospects that your business model has. That's usually what will get you your first core team. Then, of course, just to mention also that some angel investors typically, in fact, it's typical that angel investors will come on board your company as advisory board members. And usually it's very helpful because most of these investors are people who themselves have distinguished themselves in business. They already have some sort of clout and a good name that can really help, even if you put it on your website alone. So those are ways to raise that team. But typically, thinking you've raised a team as a startup with financing or with money would be difficult because you won't have the kind of money. I mean, for people who are in the fintech space, for instance, if you want to get a good CTO, a chief technology officer now, I don't think the going rate now, you can't get any chief CTO what is sought who is going to accept a salary of less than 1.2 to 1.5 million per month. So for a startup, that would be too much of a burden. So more often than not, you'd have a deal where you say the CTO comes on board, you agree that his salary should be 1.2 million, but at startup, you vest maybe 7.5, maybe 10% equity for him. You only pay him maybe 350K pending, and then you agree milestones that as things go on, his salary keeps increasing, and of course, his shares also continue to vest. But you must find a way in between, but you rarely be able to have the money to instantly engage such a high caliber core team at the very get-go. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
All right. Do you still have any other question, Mr. Oluwadamilola?
Yes. My other question is towards accounts. I don't know, for some reason, people tend to overlook the financial part of startups. So in terms of accounts, when you want to do your accounts and everything, is it more advisable to have your own hands-on accountant, or is it advisable to, solicit the services of an accounting firm? That way, you don't have to pay them as often, only when, as at need, maybe quarterly or something. I mean, how does that work, please?
Okay, so from some of my experience with the accounting, and because of the financial limitations that startups have, what the few I've worked with, what we typically do is to usually at startup employ an accountant in-house, usually not a very highly experienced accountant, but someone whom you can easily afford their wages. Also, give them a vesting agreement that puts them on the path someday possibly to rising through and becoming a CFO. I mean, if they prove themselves, usually their own vesting period might be longer because of the kind of role they are giving them. Of course, pay them a regular salary, help them at least internally be able to do your basic accounting. Then, like you said, usually you retain an external accountant because, I mean, if you are going to go into funding round, you are going to need a proper accountant to do your books. And more often than not, what also happens is that not only do you necessarily even need just an accountant who is competent, funders sometimes look at the pedigree of the person who prepared your accounts, because somehow their belief is that if you have a credible accountant, their reputation is also somewhat on the line. So that gives the funders some more confidence that this business is probably, and of course, accounting is a trust business. So people know that an accountant who has no reputation to protect can prepare anything and give. An accountant who has a reputation to protect will be careful about what what he prepares in his financial accounting records, and would double check to be sure because of the liabilities that can arise. I mean, for those who follow the news, you would hear that PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, has been having a lot of trouble in China because they audited some produced some audited accounts that later were found out to be based off of accounting records that were not exactly very factual. So for big accounting firms, it's a huge issue. Their reputation, is always at stake. And what will happen is that when you bring in those big accounting firms, they will also spot issues in your business and give you advice. So beyond helping you prepare your books and all, their engagement with you actually helps to really put you on your toes as well. Because if they see irregularities, they usually will not be able to keep their mouth shut, because they know that if they keep their mouth shut, funders come in on the back of the accounting books that they prepare, then the funder, they might be exposed to liability. So because of that, they'll take their time a little bit more. So they're beyond, all of that. They also help you do some sort of, will I say, quality control. They ensure that what you are putting out there must meet certain quality standards that will be attractive to the funder. So yeah, you can get an accountant in-house and then have an external accountant who helps set a framework for your accounts, and then your in-house accountant can continue running them until you get to that point where you definitely, you are going for funding rounds. You definitely need the significant accounting firm to come in to really help put your books in place to attract proper funding. So usually, as you go through the funding rounds, from the early funding rounds, you might wing it, but if there are funding rounds you hit, not only do you need accountants, you must be dealing with one of the top 4 if you really want funders to give money to you. So you graduate. So you start from your accountant that you hire in-house, who can grow and become your CFO, or can grow and become your head of internal accounts and all of that, to another auditing company, an external accounting company, who can guide you through some of the early rounds. But once you are hitting certain series of fundraising, you must have one of the big 4, PwC, Deloitte, and the others. You can't just go to that level with just any accounting firm, no matter how competent and good they are. They do not have that reputation, that brand name. Then you might not be able to scale with them at those higher levels. So it's also the same pattern. Use your business model and your character and your integrity to attract your core team, including a core accountant, and then build up as you go along. I hope that also takes care of that question.
Yes, that does. Thank you. My third and final question is in regards to the non-disclosure agreement bit. This one particularly hits home because I have struggled to actually draft a non-disclosure agreement. It's been difficult. I checked for drafts, I've checked online, but nothing seems to work. Is there a possible way we can get a draft? Because most of us young lawyers that are either awaiting call or within our second year do not have access to drafts. And a key draft that has been, in demand, especially in terms of, because at this stage, we don't just have the drafts, we have to sort of analyze it to cover the gap between practice and law school. So most of the non-disclosure agreements are not within circulation. So, is there a chance we can get a small draft, something to just get us started on, or, you could just point us in the right direction where we could get access to a draft that is, applicable to our Nigerian reality? Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Yes, I'll make one available through Sophie to circulate to mentees. So other things about non-disclosure means that they have varied complexities. So there's a standard boilerplate non-disclosure agreement, which is just about keep all the confidential information confidential, do not release to third parties, do not use for your own benefit contrary to the agreement. So that's a standard, vanilla boilerplate non-confidential agreement. But you need to also know that more often than non-disclosure agreement, more often than not, what I usually advocate, particularly for startups, is do what we call a mutual non-disclosure agreement. So a mutual non-disclosure agreement is simply saying that both parties promise that in the course of your discussions and your engagements, you keep all confidential information, confidential and not revealed to third parties or used for own use. So typically, a mutual non-disclosure agreement is usually used for more of a mutual discussion where, for instance, the example I give you, we were a fintech payment processor startup going to meet a mobile money licensed operator, trying to negotiate using their infrastructure to, launch the test use of our service, and then hopefully later build a product. So you can see that for that kind of discussion now, as discussion progresses, we would have to give them information about how our payment processing service works. They have to give us information about their infrastructure and how it works. So you can see that it's mutual. They are giving us confidential information. We are also giving them. So that we sign a mutual non-disclosure agreement. But however, it gets more complicated where where sometimes one party is supplying contacts and other kinds of non-economic information to the other party. So, for instance, if one contact is introducing you to his suppliers or to his vendors, or giving you access to his database, then you might want to go beyond just a regular non-disclosure agreement. You can now do the title will still read non-disclosure agreement, but inside of it now you'd have other obligations such as non-solicitation, non-circumvention. So non-solicitation and non-circumvention, non-solicitation particularly is used in a scenario where you are afraid that the person might begin to come behind your back and poach your staff or poach your suppliers or poach your vendors. So you are saying, look, you cannot solicit, you cannot, at the end of this relationship and for a period of maybe 6 months, or typically people write 2 years, even though there's some argument about that under current Nigerian law. 2 years is too long. Typically 6 months is about the safest, but sometimes you want to stretch it, to 2 years. So the idea being that 2 years after that relationship ends, no party or one or the party who you particularly anxious about is not allowed to employ any of your staff or onboard any of your vendors or your clients and all of that. The non-circumvention is also similar, but a little bit broader than solicitation. So circumvention means that you cannot go behind my back to enter into a business deal with any of the parties you got to know through me in the transaction, and you cannot, boycott me and then use a third party like your affiliated company to go behind my back to deal. So for some level, for a startup funding round, you might need the very heavy duty one. So what I'll do is I'll share with Sophie a very detailed heavy duty non-confidentiality, non-disclosure agreement, that contains non-circumvention, non-solicitation, and all the other very detailed stuff. Then all you have to do now is to use it as context demands, because usually for a simple transaction like you are going to do a pitch, it's not expected that you do more than a 3, 4, maximum 5-page non-disclosure agreement. But for a more detailed, you have done a pitch, the person has, bought into your idea, and you guys want to now go into technical discussions to think of how to work together. Then at that point, you might need to sign a very comprehensive NDA that now has the non-solicitation, non-circumvention, and the other obligations. So I'll do my best to try and say maybe by Monday to share a draft with Sophie that she can pass on to the mentees. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Max.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very helpful. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Max, for helping us run through questions. We really do appreciate your feedbacks, right? And your answers to question. I think it's safe for us to call it an end to today's session so far. Right, we've taken a few questions. We've had presentations for mentees as well as presentations for mentors. I really do hope that for the mentees that were able to stay in throughout the session, right, we're able to catch on to the important points that our mentors try to raise about fundraising for startups, and I hope we get to learn to use them effectively going forward. Right, so just before we go, please, can we kindly turn on our videos for a quick screenshot? We'll do that in 1 minute and then we'll call it an end to session. All right, thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Oluwadamilola. Thank you, Ogene. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Adam. All right, can we have more people respond? Right, we'll be doing that as quick as possible. Right, please, can you kindly turn on your video if you can? So just 1 minute. Are we doing that right now? Okay. All right, that's fine. Thank you, everyone. See you in class by 5. That's for the mentees. For this class, please do not forget to fill in the attendance and share what you've learned. A big thank you to the mentors that were in class today and for everything that they shared with us. We really, really do appreciate. Okay, and goodbye, everyone, and see you by 5 p.m. for the mentees.